नमस्कार, मी किशोर निकम तुमचं सगळ्यांचं स्वागत करतोय. 8 मंत्रामध्ये आपलं सगळ्यांचं स्वागत आहे. 8 मंत्र शाकमा कनेक्ट तर्फे आपण हे सुवर्ण महोत्सवी वर्षानिमित्त आपण हे वेबिनार शेअरिंग आपण सुरू केलेलं आहे. ह्या वेबिनार शेअरिंग मध्ये आपल्या शासकीय कला महाविद्यालयातील जे माजी विद्यार्थी आहेत, जे आजपर्यंत 50 वर्षामध्ये जे काही विद्यार्थी पास आउट होऊन गेलेले, जे काही शाकमाने घडवलेले आहे, त्यांचे आपण वेबिनार सुरू केलेले आहे. हा आजचा 3रा वेबिनार आहे. आजचे जे पाहुणे आहेत, म्हणजे आम्ही त्यांना कितीतरी वर्षापासून ऐकण्यासाठी आणि बघण्यासाठी, बघण्यासाठी तो दूरच राहिलो, त्यांच्याशी बोलण्यासाठी आम्ही प्रयत्न करत होतो, पण शक्य होत नव्हतं ते. पण आज ह्या शाकमाच्या 50 वर्षानिमित्त ते शक्य झालेलं आहे. त्यांच्यामुळे आम्हाला आज 15 दिवसापासून आम्ही त्यांच्याशी बोलतोय. म्हणजे जी काही त्यांच्याबद्दलची एक ही होती, त्यांच्यामुळे आणखीन एक आवड निर्माण झाली त्यांची, आणि एक त्यांचं व्यक्तिमत्व आमच्या सगळ्यांना एक घडून जाणवलं आहे. तर मी त्यांचं इंट्रोडक्शन करण्यासाठी मोईन शेख यांना सांगतो. मोईन शेख यांनी त्यांचं इंट्रोडक्शन करून द्यावं. मोईन शेख.
Hello Shakamites, a very good evening. We welcome you all to our 3rd knowledge sharing webinar, Art Mantra. Art Mantra is a give back mission conducted by Shakama Connect. As you can see, today our presenter is an ex-Shakamite, RAVI DESHPANDE. He graduated from Government School of Art, Aurangabad in 1985. Today, RAVI DESHPANDE is the chandelier in the hall of advertising and a power bank of creativity as well. So ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned and stay connected to get enlightened by his valuable insights on the topic, how not to ever give up, presented by the genius RAVI DESHPANDE. Kishore.
थँक्यू मोईन. मी आता तापसकर सर आणि संजय खत्री पण आपल्या बरोबर आहे. मी तापसकर सरांना अशी एक विनंती करेल, त्यांनी काही गोष्टी रवी देशपांडे सरांबद्दल, ते क्लासमेट आहेत सगळे, त्यामुळे त्यांच्या आठवणी खूप मोठ्या आहेत. त्यांनी पण 2 शब्द त्यांच्याबद्दल बोलावं. तापसकर सर.
नमस्कार. मी रवीला खरं तर 1980 पासून ओळखतो. रवी देशपांडे यांना खरं तर आर्किटेक्ट व्हायचं होतं, पण थोडंसं रस्ता चुकल्यासारखं झालं आणि ते स्कूल ऑफ आर्ट मध्ये दाखल झाले. स्कूल ऑफ आर्ट मध्ये शिकताना त्यांच्यामधला खरा कलाकार जागा झाला. त्यांनी रेंडरिंग, कॅलिग्राफी, वॉटर कलर, स्केचिंग, टायपोग्राफी सारख्या अतिशय अवघड असणाऱ्या विषयामध्ये विशेष प्रावीण्य मिळवलं. कॉलेजमधली कारकीर्द ही तर अक्षरशः त्यांनी गाजवून सोडली. 5 वर्ष ते सगळ्या विषयामध्ये मेरिटमध्ये आले, आणि जेव्हा त्यांनी काम सुरू केलं पहिल्या दुसऱ्या वर्षापासूनच त्यांचं वर्क बघायला अख्खं कॉलेजचे स्टुडंट येऊन जमा व्हायचे आणि त्यांच्याकडनं वेळोवेळी सजेशन घ्यायचे, त्यांच्याकडनं बरंच काही शिकायचे. असे हे रवी देशपांडे आज आपल्या सोबत आहेत. आणि कॉलेजमधनं मेरिटमधून बाहेर पडल्यानंतर यांनी मुंबईला जाऊन इतका मोठा सन्मान प्राप्त केला की त्यांना आज युरोप पासून पूर्ण भारतामध्ये सगळीकडे जगभरात त्यांना ओळखतात. ठीक.
थँक्यू तापसकर सर. संजय खत्री पण सर आहे. आपण संजय खत्री सरांचं पण नंतर मनोगत घेऊच आपण त्यांच्याबद्दलचं. तर आपण सुरुवात करूया. पण सगळे जमा होत आहे आता एक जण. मला वाटतं 40-50-60 लोक सध्या लाईव्हला आले पण आहेत. तर मी पहिला प्रश्न, आपण काही सरांनी प्रेझेंटेशन केलेलं आहे, आपण काय करू, सुरुवातीला काही प्रश्न घेऊ, म्हणजे काही कॉलेजच्या आठवणी त्यांच्याकडून जाणून घेऊया. पण ते कॉलेजचे असल्यामुळे आम्हाला ती उत्सुकता आहे. जनाना महल तेव्हा ते कसं अनुभवत होते ना आजचं जनाना महल. तर मी पहिला प्रश्न महेश आवटेंना सांगतोय, त्यांनी प्रश्न विचारावा.
नमस्कार. आज आपण सरांबरोबर भरपूर गप्पा मारणार आहोत, त्यांचे अनुभव ऐकणार आहोत. हे आपल्यासाठी आज खूप मोठी मेजवानी आहे खरं तर. पण आता ह्या सगळ्या प्रेझेंटेशन आणि ह्या गोष्टींच्या आधी सरांकडून आम्हाला त्यांच्या कॉलेजच्या आठवणी ऐकायला खूप आवडेल, की प्रत्येक बॅचच्या काहीतरी आठवणी असतात. त्या 5 वर्षाचा काळ खूप आपल्यासाठी जीवलग असतो किंवा आपल्या मनात बसलेला असतो. तर सर, तुमच्या काही अशा खास आठवणी आहेत का आपल्या कॉलेजबद्दल?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Moin, for such a beautiful introduction. Tapaskar, Kishore, Mahesh, and Sanjay, my classmate. It's so wonderful to be talking to you. आणि रमेश आणि तुम्हा सगळ्यांची आता या स्कूल ऑफ आर्टच्या 50th इयरमुळे ओळख झाली, त्यामुळे छान वाटलं. I had no connection with the art school for last 35 years, but this has given us opportunity to interact with us, so that's a wonderful news. तुम्ही आठवणी विचारल्या, मी 4-5 स्लाइड माझ्या प्रेझेंटेशन मध्ये इन्क्लूड केल्या आहेत की ज्यात आठवणी वगैरे आहेत त्यात, पण तरीही सिन्स तापस्कर इज टच्ड अपॉन वन व्हेरी इंटरेस्टिंग aspect of why I ended up being at the school. त्याची गंमत अशी झाली की माझा त्या स्कूलला येण्याचा किंवा अप्लाइड आर्टला जॉईन व्हायचा अजिबात काही प्लॅन नव्हता. I had absolutely no idea that this sort of thing existed. You had a faint idea, but not really knew what exactly that means. तर मी तिथे चुकून सॉर्ट ऑफ ऍडमिशन घेतली, कारण माझ्या आर्किटेक्चरच्या ऍडमिशन्स क्लोज झाल्या होत्या, ते वर्ष चुकलं होतं, आणि त्यामुळे मी नाईलाजाने त्या कॉलेजला दाखल झालो होतो. मग त्याच्यानंतर मी असा विचार केला की 1 वर्ष या कॉलेजमध्ये मी शिकेल आणि मग 1 वर्ष झाल्यानंतर परत एकदा आर्किटेक्चरच्या ऍडमिशनसाठी प्रयत्न करेल. आणि निश्चितच म्हणजे मला वाटलंच नव्हतं की मला ऍडमिशन वगैरे काही नंतर मिळणार नाही, मी तिथेच राहणार असं काही मला माहित नव्हतं. तर मी देन आय टूक दी ऍडमिशन इन कॉलेज आणि सुरुवात केला. तर 1 वर्षानंतर इट वॉज अ ब्युटिफुल इयर, आणि त्याच्यानंतर मी प्रयत्न केला परत आर्किटेक्चरला जाण्याचा, आणि ते काय परत जमलं नाही. आय थिंक आय वॉज डेस्टिन्ड टू बी इन दॅट कॉलेज, आणि दॅट्स रिअली द रिझन वाय आय एंडेड अप बीइंग देअर. आणि अजूनही माझा आर्किटेक्चरचा संबंध संपलेला नाहीये. आय स्टील डॅबल विथ लॉट ऑफ आर्किटेक्चरल आयडियाज. आय एम प्रिटी पॅशनेट अबाउट इट. पण ऍडव्हर्टायझिंगच्याही प्रेमात तेवढाच मी पडलो, आणि आज भरपूर प्रवास झाला. आता 35 वर्ष झाले मला या बिझनेसमध्ये येऊन. आणि बाकी काही ज्या गोष्टी त्या मी तुम्हाला नंतर अजून 2-3 आठवणी आहेत त्या स्लाइड मध्ये दाखवेल. सो येस, इट्स काय म्हणतात त्याला, ते एक चुकून प्रवेश आणि मग तीच तुमची डेस्टिनी होणे असा प्रकार झाला. आणि आता एक तुम्ही जसं मला सांगितलं की मराठीत बोला म्हणून, माझा जास्तीत जास्त प्रयत्न असेल की मी मराठीत बोलेल. फक्त मला एकच अडचण जाणवते की आता सुद्धा बोलताना, की जेव्हा मी कामाविषयी बोलायला सुरू करेल तेव्हा कदाचित एक नॅचरली तुम्ही इंग्लिशकडे निघून जाता, कारण यु नो that's how I think, that's how I practice the business. त्यामुळे थोडं यू जस्ट बेअर विथ मी. इनफॅक्ट एक त्याच्यातूनच मला परत आता आठवण झाली, मी तुम्हाला पण त्या दिवशी बोललो होतो की माझा एक मित्र होता रघु म्हणून, आणि आम्ही दोघं आम्हाला म्हणायचे की ये अंग्रेज चले गए लेकिन औलाद छोड़ गए. तर कॉलेजमध्ये आम्ही थोडेसे वेगळेच होतो, आणि त्यामुळे थोडं you'll have to just bear with my switching into English. I hope that's okay. Yes.
तुम्ही एक आत्ता बोलला सर, चुकून मी या कॉलेजला आलो, पण काही गोष्टी चुकूनच चांगल्या होतात. म्हणजे चुकून आल्यामुळे तुम्ही आज इतिहास घडवला, आणि त्यामुळे शासकीय कला महाविद्यालयाचं नाव जगभर प्रसिद्ध झालं.
आता हे सगळे ऍक्सिडेंटल गोष्टी आहेत, आणि तुम्ही जेव्हा काही विचार करायला लागता तेव्हा मग जाणवतं की बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी तुमच्या हातात नसतात, ज्या घडत जातात त्या.
सर एकच प्रश्न विचारतो आता फक्त, म्हणजे तुम्ही प्रेझेंटेशन मध्ये सांगणारच आहे, पण मी आज ज्या पोस्ट टाकल्या कालपासून किंवा आजपासून, तर मला एवढे जणांचे फोन आले. एक संजय व्यापारी म्हणे रवी देशपांडेमुळे मी आज औरंगाबादला आलो, कॉलेजला ऍडमिशन घेतलं. त्याच्यानंतर दुसरे प्रकाश नागापूरकर म्हणून होते, आमचे फोटोग्राफर होते. त्यांनी सांगितलं रवी देशपांडे सर माझ्या घरी सायकल लावायचे, लुना लावायचे म्हणे ते, आणि तिथून ते कॉलेजला जात होते. म्हणजे अशा आठवणी.
येस आय रिमेंबर. खत्रीला पण मे बी
हो.
खत्री विल ऑल्सो रिमेंबर. येस राईट.
तर
येस.
खूप लोकांच्या एवढ्या आठवणी आहे त्यांच्या, तर म्हणजे सगळ्यांचे जॉईन तर झाले आता, 100च्या वरती लोक जॉईन सुद्धा झाले आता.
थँक्यू किशोर. कारण मी ऍक्च्युली त्यांचं नाव आठवण्याचा प्रयत्न करत होतो बरेच दिवस झाले, म्हणजे जवळपास ऑलमोस्ट इयर. त्याचं कारण असं होतं की मी आय यूज टू राईड अ बायसिकल. त्यांच्या घरापर्यंत थोडीशी फिटनेस, थोडं तिथून दूर होतं माझं घर कॉलेज पासून, तर तिथे यायचं. मग मला कंटाळा यायचा चालून. तर देन ही अँड आय यूज टू गो बाय बस फ्रॉम देअर.
त्यांनी आणखीन एक आठवण सांगितली, तर मी ते नाव सांगत नाही. ते काही म्हणजे कॉलेजमध्ये जे चालतं ते खूप काही मुली खूप सरांच्या मागे होत्या, पण सरांनी कोणालाही भाव दिला नाही.
आणि अजून एक आठवती गोष्ट मला की पहिल्या दिवशी जेव्हा मी जॉईन केलं कॉलेज, ओके, तो मला ते आर्किटेक्टचं एवढं डोक्यात होतं की, आणि हे थोडीशी जबरदस्ती ऍडमिशन झाल्यामुळे मी पहिल्या दिवशी क्लासच अटेंड नाही केला कुठला. मी एका बाहेर जाऊन, पायऱ्या होत्या ना तुमच्याकडे, बऱ्याच जागी पायऱ्या आहेत बघा तिथे, ते सगळं औरंगजेबचा महल, तर भरपूर खाली वर असतं आर्किटेक्ट. तर मी एका पायरीवर जाऊन बसलो, दिवसभर तिथे बसून राहिलो. I didn't go into the class. So that's my biggest memory. And हे जे नागापूरकर आहे तुम्ही आता जे बोललाय, ते बाहेर आल्यानंतर मी त्यांना विचारलं की हे आहे काय प्रकरण. आय मीन व्हॉट हॅपन्स इन द क्लास. तर मग त्यांनी सांगितलं मला, तुम्हाला जाऊन कलर विकत घेऊन यावे लागतील. आणि तर मी चुकून जाऊन मग छोटेसे लहान मुलांचे कॅमलिनचे कलर घेऊन आलो होतो. So everyone was laughing in the class that you have to buy professional colors, and you just sort of went and bought these kiddie colors. So that was my first day. It was shock to me that I am in this college and I'm not in a college of architecture, which is why I did not go into the classroom on the day one. So those are the funny things, funny anecdotes of that gone by era. One almost feels like a fossil by now.
ओके, आपण एक शेवटचा प्रश्न घेऊ. रमेश काही प्रश्न विचारते, एक प्रश्न विचारतं, त्यानंतर आपण तुमच्या प्रेझेंटेशनला सुरुवात करू. म्हणजे लोक पण जो पण जॉईन होत आहे. रमेश, माईक ऑन कर.
एकच प्रश्न विचारतो सर, जास्त वेळ घेत नाही तुमचा. शासकीय कला महाविद्यालयाबद्दल तुम्ही म्हणजे चुकून तुम्ही त्या कॉलेजला आलात असं तुम्ही आत्ताच सांगितलं, तरी पण तुम्हाला आपल्या कॉलेजबद्दल काय वाटतं, किंवा आता आम्ही ज्या ऍक्टिव्हिटी कॉलेजसाठी करतोय त्याच्याबद्दल तुम्हाला काय वाटतं? शाकम कनेक्ट आणि शाकम बद्दल तुम्हाला काय वाटतं, हे मला तुमच्याकडनं ऐकायचंय सर.
सो इट्स इंटरेस्टिंग रमेश, विचारलं आता. त्या गोष्टी मी थोड्याफार माझ्या स्लाइड्स मध्ये टाकलेल्या होत्या, सुरुवातीचा काळ म्हणून. पण थोडंफार उत्तर आधीच देऊन टाकतो स्लाइड सुरू होण्याच्या आधी. जरी आर्किटेक्चर झालं नाही आणि मग मी तिथे कॉलेजमध्ये ऍडमिशन घेतली, तरी नंतर हळूहळू जसे दिवस गेले, तर मी तुम्हाला म्हटलं की मी इव्हन पहिल्या वर्षानंतर सुद्धा कॉलेज सोडून गेलो होतो. 2-3 महिने प्रयत्न केले परत ऍडमिशनसाठी इकडे तिकडे, आणि जमलं नाही म्हणून मग परत आलो. तर त्याच्यानंतर मग जेव्हा एकदा कळालं की दिस इज व्हॉट माय डेस्टिनी इज अँड आय डोंट हॅव एनी अदर ऑप्शन बट टू नाव स्टे फोकस on the given task, which is be in this college for next 5 years and try and do my best. And then there was no question of looking back. I immersed myself into that building, into the idea of learning advertising design. And then of course that was a time where there was a lot of importance given to handwork, or a lot of things. There was no technology, there were no computers, there was nothing of that sort. So everything you would execute, you would use your hand skills. आणि तुम्ही त्याप्रमाणेच be it painting still life or painting or drawing or sketching. There was a lot of a sort of technique with where you just use your hands and skills. It was a very human skill driven education at that point in time. त्यातली एक ब्युटी अशी आहे की जेव्हा तुम्ही टेक्नॉलॉजी इज ग्रेट. आय मीन यू जस्ट कांट रन टेक्नॉलॉजी डाऊन ॲट ऑल. आय मीन आत्ताच्या ज्या फॅसिलिटीज आहेत त्यावेळेस असत्या तर अजून काही एक्स्ट्रॉर्डनरी गोष्ट झाली असती. पण हे जे हाताने आपण काम करायचो ते जे पॅशनेटली 3-3 दिवस 4-4 दिवस पेपरकडे बघत तुम्ही जी आयडिया येते तुमच्या डोक्यात आणि ती आयडिया इलस्ट्रेट करायची तुमच्या कागदावर, तो जो प्रकार होता तो सोलफुल होता. आय थिंक देयर इज अ पोएट्री इन दॅट. your mind, your soul, your thought process, then your skills, your concentration, your focus. जसे म्युझिशियन्स एखादं इन्स्ट्रुमेंट वाजवतात सुंदर पद्धतीने, अजूनही कोणी गिटारिस्ट असतं, कोणी सितार वाजवतं, कोणी तबला वाजवतं, तर ते जे कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन आहे, ती जी तो जो फोकस आहे तो तुम्हाला तुम्ही एकदा हाताने काम करायला लागल्यावर येतो. आणि कारण तुम्हाला ते जास्तीत जास्त चांगल्या पद्धतीने एक्सप्रेस करायचं असतं. यू वॉन्ट दॅट ड्रॉइंग टू लुक ॲज गुड ॲज व्हॉट अ प्रिंटेड वर्क विल लुक. त्यामुळे तो जो त्याची ब्युटी आहे ती वेगळी होती. तर सो आय डिसाइडेड टू सॉर्ट ऑफ एन्जॉय दॅट प्रोसेस व्हेरी मच. त्यामुळे स्किल्स म्हणा, त्यातून ते कॉलेज असं सुंदर रोमॅन्टिक 350 वर्षाची जुनी बिल्डिंग, व्हेरी आर्टिस्टिक, व्हेरी चार्मिंग, व्हेरी ब्युटिफुल. तिथले ते सराउंडिंग म्हणा, तिथे वी वर एनव्हलप्ड इन टू अ ब्युटिफुल गार्डन which runs from Aurangzeb time. It sort of has a very rich and very sort of deep history. It's an extraordinary piece of architecture where we were fortunate enough to be locked into those building and then use basically Aurangzeb's rooms as our classrooms. So it was beautiful subsequently. मग नंतर त्यात जितका प्रयत्न करता येईल तेवढा मी इमर्स होण्याचा प्रयत्न केला. पण रमेश, एक गोष्ट झाली की तो जो कोर्स आहे तो 5 वर्षाचा आहे, तो मला फार लांब वाटायला लागला. की when I did 2 years of that college, I 2.5 मध्ये मला जाणवायला लागलं की जेवढं ऍडव्हर्टायझिंगला आवश्यक आहे तेवढं मला बहुतेक कळालेलं आहे आणि कदाचित आता जाऊन कामच करायला काही हरकत नाही. सो देयर वॉज अ टेम्पटेशन ऑफ ड्रॉपिंग आउट अँड जस्ट गेटिंग ऑन विथ प्रोफेशनल लाईफ. तर थोडस ती अस्वस्थता होती. मी मग नंतरचे वर्ष जरा थोडं वाट पाहण्यात घालवले की हे कधी संपतं प्रकरण. कारण मी आधी सायन्स करून आलेलो होतो. सो आय एम ओरिजिनली अ सायन्स स्टुडंट, विच इज वाय द आयडिया वॉज टू बिकम आर्किटेक्ट विथ सम काइंड ऑफ left brain thinking and of course artistry and creativity that is involved in that profession. तर त्यामुळे मला थोडं rational side of my mind started to sort of get a little bit restless की हे लवकर संपलं तर बरं. but there are beautiful memories आणि 2-3 गोष्टी मी anecdotally प्रेझेंटेशनच्या सुरुवातीला ठेवेल की which are about the school. But I hope this answers your question. I don't know, I just kind of rambled.
ओके सर, येस. खूप छान. खूप जणांचे येऊ लागल्या तुमच्या आठवणी, तर एवढ्या यायला लागल्या आता बाजू स्क्रीन लाईव्ह मध्ये. आपण त्यानंतर घेऊ. सर मला वाटतं आपण प्रेझेंटेशन सुरू करूया.
Excellent. So I'll start as let me just sort of give you perspective on this presentation. की तुम्ही जो मला प्रश्न म्हणजे मी तुम्हाला जेव्हा विचारलं की एक्झॅक्टली what do you want from me? What do you wish me to speak about? Or what is your expectation in the context of this 50th year? आणि आणि किशोर, तुम्ही पण विचारलं होतं की हे तुमचं गोल्डन जुबली, हे तुम्ही जे लोक आहात सगळे, जे त्यांनी प्लॅन केलंय, जे एक्झिक्यूट करतायत, ज्याच्यासाठी श्रम घेतायत आणि हे घडून आणतायत, माय सिन्सिअर कॉंग्रॅच्युलेशन्स टू यू. कारण हे या कामासाठी वेळ काढणारे लोक फार कमी असतात टाळमटाळ करणारे जास्ती असतात. People just try and escape such things because it's kind of boring and oh sorry, मला ऐकू येत आहे?
येस रेडी येस.
या सॉरी. सो तुम्ही ऐकलं का मी काय बोललो ते कॉंग्रॅच्युलेशन वगैरे केलेलं?
परत एकदा ऐकलं. चलो
my sincere thanks for inviting me here and congratulations to all of you कारण like I said की हे घडवून आणणं, हे सगळं प्लॅन करणं, त्याच्यासाठी वेळ काढणं तुमच्या प्रोफेशनल लाईफ मधून हे खूप छान काम करताय तुम्ही आणि माझ्या सिन्सिअर शुभेच्छा तुम्हाला आणि as an ex-student of your college, I would help you as much as you would wish beyond this presentation also. And I wish all the best to the new students ज्यांच्यासाठी आज हे प्रेझेंटेशन आहे. आणि हे प्रेझेंटेशन करण्याचं कारण असं की when you started to ask me a lot of questions, I realized that the questions sort of went from memories of college to how to prepare portfolios to to professional life to awards winning work to everything. So सगळ्या टाईपचे क्वेश्चन्स होते, त्यामुळे मी जास्तीत जास्त तुमचे प्रश्न इन्क्लूड करण्याचा प्रयत्न केला माझ्या प्रेझेंटेशन मध्ये. आणि त्या प्रोसेसमध्ये मला असं जाणवलं की हे थोडी ह्याची बिर्याणी तयार झाली आहे म्हणून. बिर्याणी इज अ डिश विच हॅज एव्हरीथिंग इन इट. सो दिस प्रेझेंटेशन, कारण नॉर्मली मी जे प्रेझेंटेशन करतो केले तिकडे तिकडे जगभर, तर इट इज युजली फोकस ऑन वन ऍस्पेक्ट ऑफ थिंग्स. सो यू कॅन स्टे फोकस, render that topic to the nth detail and try and sort of touch upon every nuance of it and then deliver it to the audience in the best possible way. But this presentation is very interesting because there's just so much happening in this. I can see you guys being very emotional about your 50th year. I can see all the efforts are going on, and then there's a lot of curiosity. There's a lot of sort of seeking knowledge, kind of a hunger. All of it has essentially made this presentation seem like a beautiful Hyderabadi biryani, which Aurangabad is famous for.
Yes.
So, all right, I will start, I guess. Any
Thank
more
you, sir.
questions, or shall I get on with the job?
येस सर. प्रेझेंटेशन सुरू करतो. शेअर करा सर स्क्रीन.
Yes, yes. Now I have figured this out. Your can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right?
Yes, right, sir. Perfect.
All right. So just the story so far, as in the journey continues in the business. आणि तुम्हाला म्हणलं की एक 2-3 छोट्या आठवणी राहिल्या तेवढ्या. Now we spoke enough about the nostalgia, but nevertheless, two, three things that I'll just touch upon, which are my lovely, some good old memories. If you want to see me, what I used to do, here is a picture of exactly that time. This is a shot from 1985. आणि निश्चितच ओळखून येणार, कारण त्यावेळेस भरपूर केस होते माझ्या डोक्यावर. आणि दिस इज अ पिक्चर शॉट बाय माय डिअरेस्ट फ्रेंड रघु, हू वॉज इन्सेपरेबल. रघु आणि मी अतिशय चांगले मित्र होतो आणि आम्ही भरपूर गोष्टी एकमेकाकडून शिकलो. आणि आजही आमची फ्रेंडशिप कायम आहे आणि एकमेकाशी बोलत असतो. आणि ही इज वन ऑफ the best human beings that I've ever seen, as well as one of the best artist or calligrapher, and of course a thinker, designer you will ever come across. So I'm particularly fond of this picture because Raghu shot it. This is the classroom that you may be familiar with. Now, unfortunately, Aurangzeb's Mahal is falling apart. So त्या विंडोच्या बाजूला माझी सीट होती. That's where I used to, where the cursor is where I used to sit. But seeing it in ruins, मी photographs पाहिले कुठे आणि it broke my heart. which is, it's very sad to see the school falling apart, and it's all now going into ruins. It's not being repaired. Is ironic. It's really, really sad. That is one of the memory which I think is really heartbreaking. But more on the brighter side, during the course of the college, I found my wife, who's wife today, and that time she was my junior, and that's one of the, apart from earning diploma, that was one of the earnings. आणि या फोटोतच तुम्हाला कळेल की हळूहळू केस जायला सुरुवात झाली होती, आणि त्याचं कारण पण कळालं असेल. Now, since this whole presentation is focused towards students, मला सांगण्यात आलं की 80% ऑडियन्स स्टुडंट आहे. तर जितक्या गोष्टी टिप्स देता येईल तेवढ्या देण्याचा प्रयत्न करेन मी. तर मला एक गोष्ट जाणवली की कोर्सेस कन्स्ट्रक्ट केलेले असतात कॉलेजमध्ये, आणि त्याप्रमाणे तुम्ही तुमचं एज्युकेशन होतं. यू गेट अ कोर्स, देन यू गेट अ सिलेबस, यू sort of structure that syllabus across 5 years, and then it gets delivered over the years, and then you learn what is constructed in the form of assignments, what is constructed in the form of education. But interestingly, you just obviously can't learn everything in college, although I was fortunate to have some really wonderful teachers there. There was Pense sir, there was Parmar sir, who I very often see on Facebook and stuff. Wonderful man, wonderful teacher, and wonderful human being. त्याच्यानंतर बरेचसे तिथे अजूनही टीचर्स होते की जे आम्हाला डायरेक्ट शिकवत नव्हते, पण आय एम इटर्नली ग्रेटफुल टू देम फॉर their inputs. Me mala, I was also interested as a fine artist, so I used to go and meet Professor Ingle, who was then later dean of even JJ, and then I think he was even director, if I'm not mistaken. So phenomenal artist, phenomenal man, wonderful man, and it was a pleasure to interact with him. Before that, even there was gentleman called Vasant Parab, who was the dean of JJ and of course our college, who was also a phenomenal sort of thinking man. And there was a lot that in that very short time when he was dean that I managed to pick up, and he was always encouraging and a sort of great teacher. There was Pawar also, Pawar sir, Gopi sir, who was also then dean of JJ, and sort of he's done wonderfully well for himself subsequently. So he sagde loko hote, and they were all very sort of pleasant to interact with. There was Bade sir. I'm just trying to recollect as many teachers as I could. Even Chaudhary sir, भरपूर असे छान टीचर्स त्यावेळेस होते, आणि that was one of the benefit of learning along, of course, with the course. But of course, उत्कृष्ट teachers, उत्कृष्ट course, but there is always something that you miss out on learning, which you don't quite learn in institute. It's like this famous business annuals that keep coming in, which is or books that have written around what they don't teach you at Harvard Business School, basically about things that you don't learn about business in the business school. So there is also a lot that you don't learn about advertising, art, and skills in applied art. There is just a lot that gets missed out on. So मला असं वाटतं की त्यावेळेस काही गोष्टी अजून शिकायला पाहिजे होत्या, which are not necessarily part of the college. So such as a little bit more getting acquainted with the technological side. So the त्यावेळेसची टेक्नॉलॉजी म्हणजे of course higher skills in photography म्हणा, किंवा let's say more aspects of marketing, more aspects of literary language, more aspects of anything that is a little bit more रॅशनल. कारण काय होतं की या कोर्समध्ये यू गेट थ्रोन इन टू too much of creativity and artistry, but there's a lot of things that get missed out on, which is about marketing, which is about rational thinking, and that I think we kind of somewhat got missed out on in the beginning. Later I had to take a lot of efforts to make sure I learned that. So I think that aspect is very important. And that's exactly the difference between the academic knowledge and professional work. कारण तुम्ही जेव्हा प्रोफेशनल वर्कमध्ये येता तेव्हा अकॅडमिक्सचे जे तुम्ही कलेक्शन केलेलं आहे की तुमचे ॲड्स असतात, तुमचे फोटोग्राफ्स असतात, डिझाईन्स असतात. सो दॅट इज इसेन्शियली introduces you to the business as a as some kind of creative who you can start to train, help him hone the skills of professional life, and then get on with the game. तर अकॅडमिक नॉलेज आणि प्रोफेशनल वर्कमध्ये भरपूर तफावत आहे. त्यामुळे माझं सजेशन असं आहे की तुम्ही जितके आधी तयार होऊ शकता 5 वर्ष जेव्हा तुमचा कोर्स चालू असतो तितके तितक्या लवकर झालेलं चांगलं. आणि शक्यतोवर मला असं वाटतं की जेव्हा तुम्ही कॉलेजमधून बाहेर येतायत, हा लांब कोर्स आहे 4 वर्षाचा 5 वर्षाचा, तर when you just come into the business, I think you should almost be ready to take on the business. In fact, तो aspect एवढा important होता मला की how can there be education which is which is very professionally ready. As you get out, you're almost a professional, not a student who now has to start another journey and somebody has to help. So त्यामुळे मी even कॉलेज सुद्धा सुरू केलं होतं एका फ्रेंच पार्टनरशिपमध्ये. That's going on very well. तर so I think there's a lot of difference, and I think students should get well acquainted with the professional work a lot ahead. In fact, त्या दिवशी जे गोडबोलेंचा सेमिनार पाहिला मी, वेबिनार, आणि त्यांनी खूप सुंदर टिप्स दिल्या होत्या. त्यांनी ही पण टिप दिली होती की तुम्ही आधीच कसं काय तुम्हाला ट्रेन करणार. and I think anyone who's looking for those very important pertinent tips should see Godbole's webinar and pick up those cues, कारण त्या गोष्टी फार आवश्यक असतात तुमची जर्नी सुरू होताना. आणि तसं जर केलं तर तुम्ही जरा कॉन्फिडेंटली बिझनेसमध्ये याल. आता आपण थोडंसं we'll start to get deeper into the business and sort of define. आपण क्रिएटिव्ह एज्युकेशन घेतो आणि त्या कॉलेजला जातो, 4 वर्ष हे करतो. वी आर अ लिटल बिट लॉस्ट ऑल्सो. व्हॉट इज गोइंग टू हॅपन टू अस वेन वी वॉक इन टू प्रोफेशनल लाईफ. तर त्या गोष्टी चालू असताना यू आर नाव इन द प्रोफेशनल लाईफ अँड you want to do something creative, but do you really have an idea of what is really creative? What makes for a good piece of creative? So it's very important for a student to start a journey as someone who starts questioning a lot of things. It's very important that you first and foremost question your own definition of what is creativity. It's very, very important that is resolved fully and properly in your mind. So I tried to sort of get a fix of that what is creativity. I used to all ask very sort of good senior professionals when I came into the business, hey, what is your idea of creativity? I asked my colleagues, friends. I tried to see in their work what they think is creativity and creative. Great creative expression. So you can learn from your colleagues, you can learn from your seniors, you can learn from the world of advertising at large, and you can ask yourself a question: what is creativity? So just anecdotally, he ek माझी definition where I feel creativity is really always a sort of a new answer to an old question. Creativity is something that makes the impossible possible. It's really always a sort of new answer to an old question. So बरेचसे डिस्ट्रेसफुल क्वेश्चन्स असतात आणि क्रिएटिव्हिटी एक कल्पकता जी असते ती तुमचं ते क्वेश्चन, ती मिस्ट्री डिमिस्टिफाय करते किंवा ते आन्सर करते. अँड दॅट्स रिअली creativity. Now, whether it's in the area of product design, whether it's in the area of nation building, whether it's in the area of advertising. No matter what, but there is always something that resolves a question because you have found an elegant, creative answer, and that's what sort of my humble definition of creativity. You also have to ask yourself, why are you creative? Why didn't you become engineer? Why didn't you become doctor? Why didn't you become some business guy, some kind of sort of left-brained sort of entrepreneur? You have to ask, because you have become creative person. You've gone and done that stuff in your college, and you sort of now practicing the trade. So you have to have this definition resolved in your mind. So I also ask myself that question: is like, why are you creative? And then these are the answers that I find inside my soul, which is, creativity sort of is a drug. It's a drug without side effects. I've never done drugs, but I understand from the reaction of people, that they really sort of trip out on that. Just lose their themselves to the effect of drugs. But it's the same kind of thing without any side effect. Creativity is really a drug without side effect. It's wonderful. Creativity also gives you something empowering. It empowers you. You have the power to make the world a better place to live in. Sometimes a lot of creative ideas come into the environment, into, like I said, nation building, into society, into culture, and those ideas just make world a better place. And similarly, even in advertising, when you find a great idea for a brand, then that just sort of solves a marketing problem, and it makes brilliant connections between consumer and brand. So that empowerment of your idea can enable something. It has a power in it to get customers connected with your brand, connected with the idea behind the idea. So that's really important. I also feel with creativity, there is nothing like a drab day. You always sort of, there is a lot of stress in our business. Of course, you remain very stressed out till you actually find an idea, and more importantly, you beautifully, brilliantly execute that idea. So there's a lot of stress, sure, but kantala nahi yenar. It's always sort of fun, and it's always fun to grapple with the idea of finding an idea, and then finally finding an idea, and then giving it a shape in the form of either a picture, and either an ad, or a film, or a sort of digital expression. I also feel creativity is more rewarding than money. So of course there are a lot of things that you can do by which you can make more money. I had a very interesting partner I worked with many years ago, and he used to tell me, Ravi yaar, पैसे चाहिए तो एडवर्टाइजिंग में रह के कुछ फायदा नहीं है, क्योंकि there is only finite and a definite income that you will earn at the end of the day. If you have to do money, you have to probably go and become some kind of businessman, some kind of find an idea by which you can go and make a lot of money. Advertising doesn't really exactly give you that kind of money, or that much financial success. But why do you stay in it? Like, why do you spend year after year chasing that elusive mirage that exists in the form of advertising or creativity, and you sort of stay sort of enveloped into that beautiful feeling of, hey, you are a creative person, and you're going to keep finding wonderful ideas to be able to solve marketing problems, or to be able to solve all kinds of problems, and enjoy the process. So it's truly rewarding than money to me. I would find life almost meaningless without creativity. It's just I really don't know what else I would do if you take creativity out of my equation. I think it'll be like a soulless body or soulless existence. So the journey has somewhere begun as a creative person, and then that's what really has become life. And it would be meaningless to be without creativity. And I'm sure you will resonate with these feelings, because all you students, all you creative professionals, wherever you are, you would feel the same, because you are a terrific creative person. It means a lot to you, and therefore you give your 100% to it, and you throw yourself into that and enjoy that whole process of being creative. Third, so yeah, I came into the business. I asked myself a lot of questions. I started to have a lot of success right from the beginning. In fact, my company that I worked the longest for 20 years, contract, they actually threw a responsibility. I had a wonderful boss called Ram Sehgal, who I owe my lot of success to, because he was always encouraging, and he sort of taken punt on me even when I was young. So even just as I had finished 2.5, 3 years in the business, he started to give me a lot of senior designations and responsibilities, and that gave shape to my career. I'm truly thankful to him, and because all of it was happening in the beginning, there was a lot of good creativity. There were a lot of good colleagues around. I managed to lead creative department, assemble a lot of great creative people, some great writers, some great strategists, some great uh, art directors, all them, and we became a nice powerhouse of creativity at Contract. So I will just show you a couple of pieces of work. It's like really long back. This is 25 years old creativity. I was just looking at it just now and smiling to myself, almost such a long time has gone by, and it's wonderful to sort of take a trip into the past. So a couple of pieces of work. One is 22-year-old, one is 25-year-old. Let's start with the 25-year-old. Take a look.
First you say you're always with me, 'cause being with me is fun. Say you'll go the whole distance and the love that you found. Alright, come on. What's going on? What you thinking? Then you say you need me like a garden needs rain. Then you go and deceive me like a doll in the game. All in the game.
This had won lots of awards at that time, and it was a charming ad. Sunny Zip was struggling in the market, and this ad revived its fortunes for next few years. And this also was possible because Bajaj used to really create some wonderful work, and that is the reason it became possible to create such ad. I had a wonderful guy to work with, a copywriter called Parvez. Nowadays he writes movies. Wonderful creative person. He and I sort of partnered together and did this ad. And one more ad I did with him at that time. Just take a look. This was also highly celebrated ad of that gone by era. Right, so this is more of a trip to nostalgia, but we were trying to solve some serious marketing problems. We were trying to boost sales of these products. There were a lot of, there's obviously a lot of thinking, meetings, creating ideas, and then of course, finding the right execution team. There's a wonderful director of that time, Mahesh Mathai, helped us put this together. A wonderful man and a wonderful film director, one of the best I have ever worked with. Can't thank him for these two wonderful pieces, and then the subsequent friendship, and it was just beautiful at that time. But then that was then. We just keep moving into later and later time. So we kind of just go back to having touched upon creativity. Let's just also sort of touch a bit upon getting sort of a little bit microscopic. And when you say creativity, it becomes a little too broad and too sort of elusive or sort of vague or fuzzy. If you were to start sharpening the definition of creativity, just about every person in this world who has worked in this business with great amount of sincerity, intensity, and creativity will tell you that this really is a business about ideas. And the journey and the quest remains. You kind of spend years and years trying to find great ideas, and then you have to keep tossing around and keep analyzing the good ones from the bad, separate the good ones from the bad, and make sure that you're landing with some really great work. So it's really all about ideas. But let's just sort of touch a bit upon what there are many ideas, and then, like I said, good and bad. But is there any way to know what really is a good idea? In my opinion, a real good idea is almost a hidden truth waiting to be dug out. It's just sitting there, but it's just waiting to be spotted, waiting to be found out. And then somebody finds out, and you say, wow, that's something great. That's something absolutely fantastic. They're just greatest pieces of work, award-winning work that you see many times, and then you just see, hey, it was just so simple, it was waiting to be taken. So it's one of those things. It's just sort of there, but somebody's got to find out. A good idea also can be something that is useful to someone. I mean, idea that enables sort of practical usefulness. In my opinion, also good ideas sometimes evolves over a time. You create an idea, and then you don't quite know it's a good idea or a great idea at that point in time. I mean, brands like, say, Nike, which has been doing incredible work over last more than 30 years, for 35 years. You will see the initial work, which is essentially landed up with the greatest line written ever, "Just do it." Nobody would have thought that it's such a great idea at that time when it started. Of course, it even then was pretty powerful, but it's sort of evolved over time. It just became greater and greater. So ideas also are found, and then they just get bigger and bigger as you go forward. Ideas sometimes create even eternal relationship between people and brands, because it just sort of the brand has a powerful idea or found a way to powerfully connect with people. So take, for example, this Think Different campaign of Apple, where the ability to think different, and in the form of the kind of innovations, the kind of designs, the kind of products that they produce, combined with the advertising or the expression of it, even say Apple Store, the expression of the physical expression of the retail, and then of course the advertising or the philosophy they have been propagating for years. They really walk the talk when they say think different. And it's a journey that started, of course, during Steve Jobs' time, many years ago. Some great work, great advertising work started. In fact, I think I have one anecdotal piece of work coming up, just to be able to show that sometimes you find an idea, you find a great expression, and that expression and the product that company produces has a great connect between each other, and then it just starts to get bigger and bigger as the time goes by. Take a look at this ad, and you will know what I'm talking about.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
If this is the philosophy we all can apply in the work we do, or the way we think, or the way we lead our lives, then it can certainly make our game interesting. What is a bad idea? There are, when we all work in the business, आम्ही जेव्हा काम सुरू करतो, भरपूर चांगले आणि खराब ideas येतात. But it's really difficult sometimes, because the bad idea just one shade down from, say, good. And when you say bad idea, the bad idea really means that it's not good enough for the task, or for the reason, for the money that client is spending on advertising. So how do you sort of recognize bad ideas? So I think in principle, I feel in advertising, a bad idea is something that underestimates the consumer's intelligence. A lot of times advertising is dumbed down. Advertising is made ordinary because they keep, a lot of companies keep thinking that I have to connect with masses, or I have to connect with people at large, and they underestimate their intelligence, their ability to grasp a message, their ability to process the expression, and therefore, more often than not, they end up creating mediocre advertising, or very bland advertising sometimes, or sometimes even trashy advertising, because they just sort of they really underestimate consumers' intelligence. There are a lot of times also lousy work happens because simply people in the creative business are a bit lazy. They did not slog hard enough to sort of stretch themselves to its maximum to be able to find the good ideas. And they probably sometimes take a shortcut and just sort of land whatever the idea that comes to them, or simply they've not taught themselves enough to be able to recognize a good idea. And there's been no coaching, there's been no observation, there hasn't been a challenge, they haven't been challenged. So they pretty much keep churning out work that's mediocre, and that sort of ends up creating bad advertising or producing bad ideas. In our business, because you will experience, you're going to come into the business now, all your students, you will often experience that you're creating idea, and those ideas are getting killed. And you can feel very frustrated, you can feel very disappointed, discouraged, or disillusioned sometimes. Hey, I thought of that great idea, but it didn't go through. It sort of got shot down. आणि मग तुम्हाला कळत नाही की एक्झॅक्टली तुम्ही कुठे चुकता आहात. So let's just find out ki, why these ideas get killed, or what kills ideas. It's sort of complacency. It's just like somebody is not really up to working hard enough, working further enough, working, stretching, like I said earlier, to its maximum to be able to sort of get there, and therefore, you have this complacency within department. Let me just expand a little bit on that. For instance, you create work as a bunch of, sort of team, and then you realize that this is going to take some amount of effort to sell it. It's going to take some time, imagination, and extraordinary efforts to sell it. but you don't go that far enough. You don't prepare. You might work hard to create a great idea, but you're not working hard enough to sell the idea. You kind of get complacent somewhere, and that really kills the idea. I've seen it very often that happen, where some kind of inertia, some kind of complacency has killed the idea. Short-sightedness, fear, and insecurity kills an idea. There are a lot of times I've seen that a lot of good ideas that come out, and sometimes creative leadership, or sometimes just it's so daring, so courageous idea that that needs some amount of conviction, courage, and confidence to be able to take it forward. And if you don't have that in your armory, or in your sort of way of working or way of spotting ideas, then ideas start to get killed. So it's a very often experienced thing. So my suggestion on this is, once you recognize you found a great idea, just make sure that no fear, no short-sightedness, no complacency comes in the way. You work further and further to hone or to chisel that idea to its nth detail. Make sure that it has now a remarkable execution, and it's ready to express itself in the most simplest way and powerful way possible. And only then it sort of gets out. But it is a game of perseverance, and that is something all of you students have to be ready for it. At the same time, there's a good news that there are a lot of things that promotes good ideas. I mean, just being passionate promotes ideas. You see sometimes, sometimes, as a leader, I've had a situation where I would see somebody's idea, and it's not occurring to me just yet that, hey, it can go that forward. But you see a passion, somebody's passion in that idea, so you start paying attention to that a little harder than just simply rejecting it. And then over a period of time, with your effort, with that person's effort, with external faculty's effort, you start to make that idea get better and better, stronger. And that sort of promotes ideas, that takes ideas further, that takes ideas into the market, and some great results happen. A team with a common goal promotes ideas. I mean, I have been fortunate enough, many times there has been a fantastic team. So all the decades that I worked in the 80s or the 90s, and now post 2000, I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by some great creative people, great strategists, great mind. And there are a lot of times we ensure that we are a team, one team with a common goal, because advertising is a team sport, and a lot of people contribute their bits in making an idea get bigger and bigger and better. So that sort of thing is very important. Now I just recollect one example where my writer and I got this idea, and then we started to work on it. And after that, we had this phenomenal director, Ram Madhwani, who was working with us. And then there was the team was growing bigger and bigger. And then we sort of started to sharpen this idea, chisel this idea. We just had one goal. We wanted to produce a beautiful artistic piece of work, which was a little bit philosophical, which was a little unusual from the most normal, mundane advertising, and a little bit sort of out of the way for that time. This is also a very old ad. And but we nevertheless, with a common goal, produced that idea. So the point is really, a team with a common goal can promote great ideas. And take one for example right now.
सांस जिंदगी की आवाज है, कहीं रैट रेस की सांस है तो कहीं सोच में डूबी सांस, कहीं जुनून की सांस तो कहीं जल्दबाजी की सांस, जिद की सांस, मस्ती की सांस, मदहोशी की सांस, रुकी हुई सांस, बेफिक्र सांस, बेमतलब की सांस, निराशा की सांस, मेहनत की सांस, आखिरी सांस। हर सांस में छुपे कुछ जज्बात होते हैं, बस सुनने के लिए चाहिए टाटा इंडिकॉम की डिजिटल क्लैरिटी का साथ। टाटा इंडिकॉम, सुनो दिल की आवाज।
So, there is every breath has a sort of expresses feelings, निराशा की सांस, खुशी की सांस, बेमतलब की सांस, रुकी हुई सांस, all all kinds of expression uh, which human beings have, and the digital clarity of this phone will be able to pick that. It's uh, the finest of the finest sound, and to be able to build this assembly of wonderful imagery and thoughts. It was a lovely, great team effort, and like I said, this guy Ram Madhwani is one of the finest that I worked with. Wonderful person, wonderful creator, and a wonderful friend. And this is one of my all-time favorite work because it was just simply so unorthodox for uh, a network a brand. Another sort of from sort of creativity, we got into the ideas, and the business is really all about ideas, and ideas that really help people connect with brands or vice versa. And then as you sort of get deeper, you realize that you have to start looking for then sources of finding ideas. I mean, ideas are not just something that are going to be available to you when you're just sitting on your desk, or when you just sort of sure, there will be something crossing your mind, but it's not good enough to just have some kind of routine to find ideas. There'll have to be something done laterally to find ideas. It is not all that easy. जसं गोडबोले अगेन त्या दिवशी म्हणाले की ते जे सुंदर फोटोग्राफी करतात ते he sets out, takes his camera out, he looks for it, he's searching for ideas, the ideas are shaping in his mind, he then goes and takes the picture. It's being in search of ideas, so to speak, and you will realize that there is, if you really look into our own culture or different cultures from around the world, you will see that very interestingly, there are ideas sitting there within our culture, within the way our society is, within the way people behave, our ideas of life, our behavior, our spontaneity, our happiness, our sorrows, our food, our music, our way of being, our eccentricity, our sort of languages, the different races that we are. There's just so much there in culture of each nation, and especially our nation, because there's just so many languages and so many different kinds of culture resides within an idea of India. So I think that's a phenomenal source of creativity, and all the great creatives in our business will tell you this, that can become a fantastic source of finding ideas. And interestingly, when you find ideas from cultural nuances or insights, and you create work, sometimes that work also starts to feed back into culture. Just going back to this lovely example of Nike, as we all sort of always like to sort of drop in that example. The idea of fitness, the idea of being fit and being confident and being positive about life. Sure, this whole thing came from the culture of fitness, culture of athleticism, and then later when Nike produced all the great ads, great work over the years, it started to feed back into the culture. To me, that brand is a culture now. It's almost like such a inseparable fabric of global society. We'll see how one or two examples to be able to sort of anecdotally see how culture can feed into creativity. Now look at this situation, this picture. This picture is from Bangkok. This is one of the features of the city. Most wonderful cities are organized. And of course, there are chaotic cities, even like Mumbai or a city like Bangkok. Bangkok has both sides. There is a beautiful side to it, and then there's a chaotic side to it. So this, in the city that is not in order, has actually gave birth to a fantastic idea that I'm about to show you. Take a look. It's a wonderful piece of work from somewhere, and I couldn't help but put that in here to be able to illustrate a point about how your cultural setting allows you to spot an idea, and then some creative genius helps to execute it beautifully. So take a look.
ภาพสนามบอลแปลกๆอันนี้ดิอยู่ย่านคลองเตยท่านผู้ชมครับเป็นสนามฟุตบอลรูปตัวแอลนะฮะบอกว่าเวลาที่เขาไม่มีพื้นที่แบบนี้เนี่ยสิ่งที่เราจะเห็นเลยเขาจะกลับมาอยู่กับตัวเองและอาจจะเริ่มอยู่กับอะไรที่เขาสนใจเฉพาะมากๆซึ่งมีโอกาสที่จะมีปัญหาตามมาได้วัยรุ่นในชุมชนแออัดก็ต้องการพื้นที่ที่จะแสดงออกอย่างสร้างสรรค์เหมือนวัยรุ่นทุกๆคนแต่พื้นที่ที่เขาอยู่อาศัยกลับไม่เอื้ออำนวยไม่มีเชฟไม่มีรูปทรงเราความคิดสร้างสรรค์นะครับไปใส่ในพื้นที่ที่ทุกคนมองข้ามเราก็จะได้พื้นที่ใช้สอยใหม่ๆประโยชน์กับชุมชนแล้ว
This is absolutely phenomenal. Which is this property developer from Thailand actually went ahead with this powerful idea where all these a lot of spaces which are not exactly rectangular, but they turned into this unorthodox non-rectangular football field. It's one of the popular games there, and so that all the kids can truly enjoy the game. So what if it's not in the conventional way? But it's such a beautiful use of space, such a beautiful design idea, and such a beautiful way to improve society and lift the beauty of the place. And that couldn't have come if there was no order, if there was too much order in the city, if it was the sanitized city, if it didn't have rubbish, if it didn't have those spaces, if it didn't have those slum kids playing in that rubbish, it would be hard to spot such ideas. So when you look at your cultural nuance as well, when you're watching your city, when you're watching the people you are, when you're watching, like I said, every aspect of your being and where you live and who you're surrounded by, then you are likely to find some great ideas, and that gives birth to creativity. Now, unfortunately and ironically, one of the things that I had a wonderful team in contract, and guy called Kapil Sawant, Revati, Raj Nair. So we had a team came out with this phenomenal idea, and Revati, Kapil then took it forward. And this idea was something that we sort of worked very hard towards, and it just sort of ended up taking such a wonderful shape in the end. The conversation was a lot about this whole cultural thing about India being a little corrupt country, and then the kind of people that you see in government offices and stuff, which actually gave a birth to this idea. I won't describe the idea too much, just take a look and you will know that how this cultural aspect of India actually helped us sell rather unexpected product. 1 second. Sorry, it's just still continuing. 1 second. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of fun ad, and we would not have been able to sell juicers if not for spotting this cultural nuance. So this was absolutely, genius of our team. Like I said, Revati, Kapil, Raj, and this ended up being a phenomenal ad that I'm so proud of, and um, and that's exactly what sort of tells you that again and again, if you start looking at things rather carefully, what where you know what surrounds you, then you end up spotting great ideas. About 4 years ago, we were handed a brand at Vinus called Carlton, and client wanted to position this as a business luggage brand, and we said it's all right. They had some fabulous designs for the bags, and I had some prior experience of working on a travel brand. We had worked on Samsonite and American Tourister, uh, so the experience of working the travel category also came handy. Once again, we started to look at the cultural dimension of what's going on in this world. Although you're saying that, okay, I want to sort of position this bag as a business luggage bag, but let's just see what's going on in the country, what's the competition is doing. We spotted that competition was doing a typical, luggage ads, which where you see some distinguished human being sitting at the posh airport lounge, looking fantastic. Same old cliched imagery of travel, and at that time we still kept hunting for, hey, what's going on in the world of business, and we spotted that the आता business ची idea बदललेली आहे. I mean, people are now thinking about business a little bit differently. People are becoming entrepreneurs. People are starting early. There are dropouts who are starting companies. Two friends get together and build a company. It's just a passion that drives people to start businesses, and it's not only about um, sort of working in the corporates and doing and climbing the ladder in the usual traditional way that you worked in business. So when we're thinking about the business luggage brand and how do we position it, we realize that the shape of the business, the culture of the business has totally changed, and now it's this whole new culture of entrepreneurship, and preferably at a young age, and being a confident, bold businessman is the way things are now at the moment, and that gave birth to this wonderful sort of brand. And then, over the years, it has been growing very steadily, and it's grown actually now quite significantly. So there has been some commercial success also along with some great advertising. So I'll just show you, there are hundreds of ads created for this brand, but I'm just going to show you some anecdotal ones, just to make a point about how the culture of entrepreneurship that is now starting to sort of take over India, and making people fall in love with the idea of doing business, or being on their own, and there's just so many startups that are starting that actually led to this positioning of this brand, and more importantly, how it started to express itself in the marketplace. So let's take a look at these 2-3 billboards we developed, just to illustrate a point. So you see, of course, bunch of luggage on the right, and the whole concentration is obviously on the thought that says get an idea, then you've got an empire. It's really about finding an idea, then you're all set. Carlton, the new face of business. So we decided to say that, hey, we will discuss business, but we will discuss business in a whole different context. We will discuss in the context of spirit of entrepreneurship. Change jobs, or better still, change the world. So it's not only about job change. It's also about changing the world with the power of your ideas, or the power of what you present in front of the world. When you inherit nothing from your dad except love, it's really about just taking nothing from, or inheriting nothing, but your conviction, and your power of that conviction gets you ahead. And that's really what Carlton was celebrating. So it's the new face of business. So along that, in this, of course, category, there is also a sort of a thing about that the category does have to say somewhere that we make tough bags, we make sort of rugged bags, and with Carlton brand, we're also getting a lifetime free warranty, and they wanted to actually pass on that message that, of course, not only buying a brilliant business bag, a beautifully designed bag, but they're actually tough, and so tough that if anything goes wrong with it, and we're so confident about that toughness that if anything goes wrong with it, then we will replace it without asking you any question. So our team came out with this wonderful idea where we decided that, look, why don't we sort of almost try and narrate a story that sounds like a fake story. But Carlton's confidence about the lifetime warranty is so clear, so strong, that they will simply replace your bag. So even if you're almost lying to us that why the bag is dented or why the bag is broken, we will still take it back. We are confident about its strength, and even if something goes wrong in some odd case, we will have it back in our. You will have a whole new bag by replacing the old bag. And we produced this wonderful piece of work, which worked indeed very well for them. It's just coming up.
I was really late for this meeting, so I took a shortcut through this park, when suddenly out pops this massive gorilla. I grabbed the bag and run. I thought I'd got away from him, but I hadn't. So I hold up my Carlton bag for protection. And then I remembered I had the perfect weapon. And so, it's just this dent.
No problem, sir. Whatever your story, the Carlton Edge lifetime warranty takes care of your bag, including airline damage. No questions asked. Carlton.
So just to sum up, your cultural settings, whether it's yours or you borrow it from another culture, which you can do. It doesn't have to be all the time your own culture that you borrow ideas from or get inspired. It could be from anywhere, and to that extent, it's a greatest source of finding ideas. And if you just sort of get yourself familiar and acquainted with the cultural nuances and keep spotting insights, it'll come handy somewhere for you to make connection of that particular idea with a brand, and then it goes and works beautifully in the marketplace. A lot of times you will hear this in our business, thinking out of the box, or, let's not do the cliched work. Let's just do something that's different. What's unusual about it? And it's a very, very often spoken thing in the creative department or the agencies. It's also celebrated in the context of awards and so on. So thinking out of the box is absolutely important. And what does it really mean is it's just breaking the routine. It's zagging. It's just sort of taking a reversion. If if you go northwards, stop going northwards. Maybe try going southwards, and you may find a whole different expression, a whole different creativity. And it's very important to try and see which way the category expresses. Just to sort of slip into a Marathi bit again. I'm like suddenly remember that I've been sort of not bringing Marathi in between. So let me just sort of express that for the benefit of certain viewers. Ki, say शॅम्पूच्या ॲड सारख्याच दिसतात. कारच्या ॲड सारख्याच दिसतात. लेट्स से मिनरल वॉटर असेल तर त्याच्या ॲड मिनरल वॉटर सारख्या दिसतात. नो मॅटर वॉट यू सेलिंग, जे काय असेल तर त्या ॲड त्या टाईपच्याच वाटतात. अँड दॅट एक्झॅक्टली इज वॉट क्रिएट्स प्रॉब्लेम. त्याच्यामुळेच क्लिशेस तयार होतात, त्याच्यामुळेच एक पॅटर्न तयार होतो, त्याच्यामुळे एक थोडंसं एक प्रिडिक्टेबल ॲडव्हर्टायझिंग तयार व्हायला लागते. इन्शुरन्स ॲड लुक्स लाईक इन्शुरन्स ॲड्स, बँक ॲड लुक्स लाईक बँक ॲड्स. त्यामुळे त्यात वेगळेपण येत नाही, त्यात काही 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 थोडासा जो फरक लागतो, जो लोकांना इंटरेस्टिंग वाटेल असा, तर तो येत नाही. कारण ॲड्स आर फायनली ads essentially go and interrupt what you're doing, whether you're watching television program or reading newspaper or you're traveling. Any form of advertising essentially comes and interrupts. So when you interrupt, you really have to reward people with that little time that they've given you. कारण ते तुम्ही त्यांना डिस्टर्ब केला, ते प्रोग्राम बघत होते पण तुमची ॲड आली आणि तुम्ही त्यांना डिस्टर्ब केला. त्यामुळे थोडे जे ते का तुम्ही 1 मिनिट 2 मिनिट 3 मिनिट ते तुमच्याबरोबर घालवणार आहेत, तर ते त्याच्यासाठी यू हॅव टू मेक शुअर दॅट युअर ॲड इज व्हेरी गुड, इट्स व्हेरी एक्साइटिंग, इट इज नॉट अ रूटीन, इट्स नॉट प्रेडिक्टेबल, इट्स नॉट बोरिंग. So thinking out of the box is a habit you need to sort of cultivate within your system. Every time you're creating something, is it वेगळं आहे की नाही, हे यात हे नेहमीसारखंच वाटतंय का, हे बघितल्यासारखं वाटतंय का, आणि शक्यतोवर प्रयत्न करायचा की काहीतरी वेगळं करण्याचा. आणि तसं करता करता छान ॲडव्हर्टायझिंग तयार होतं. तर आम्हाला एक चॅलेंज आलं होतं की गोदरेज लॉकिंग सोल्युशन्स हा ब्रँड आम्ही हँडल करतो. तर इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ sort of robberies and security, there are locks, there are when you also talk about locks, you also think predictably one padlock. पण आता सिक्युरिटी सिस्टम खूप ॲडव्हान्स झालेली आहे. आणि लॉकिंग या कॅटेगरीमध्ये मोस्टली आम्ही नोटीस केलं की थोडी कॅरिकेचरिश ॲडव्हर्टायझिंग होते. म्हणजे एखादा फनी असा चोर दाखवतात आणि तो चोरी करतोय, किंवा आडव्या पट्ट्या असलेला टी शर्ट घातलेला चोर दाखवतात. सो इट वॉज अ व्हेरी क्लिशेड, व्हेरी प्रेडिक्टेबल kind of space that locking solutions was stuck in. तर आम्ही विचार केला की या ब्रँडवर काहीतरी वेगळं करता येईल का. आणि आम्ही सुरुवात केला प्रवास विचारांचा, आणि मला आयडिया सुचली की आपण खरे चोरच का नाही शोधून आणायचे, आणि त्यांनाच का नाही विचारायचं की ते चोरी कशी करतात, आणि त्यांचं हाऊ डू दे गो अबाउट देअर बिझनेस, आणि त्यांच्याचकडून काही टिप्स मिळतील का लोकांना देण्यासाठी. पण ऑफकोर्स दिस इज अन ऑडिशियस आयडिया, कारण कुठला चोर तुम्हाला सांगणार आहे तो चोरी कसा करतो. तर आम्हाला शेवटी ज्या चोरांनी रिटायरमेंट केलेली आहे, आता जे चांगले झालेले आहेत, रिफॉर्म झालेले आहेत, तशा लोकांनी मदत केली, आणि वी ॲक्च्युली एंडेड अप टॉकिंग टू रॉबर्स and do their interviews and get some tips, आणि that actually came very handy. तर थोडी 1-2 films आहेत that will be a fairly self-explanatory as to how we actually managed to break out of the box in the context of locking solutions by actually talking to robbers and getting tips on how to keep your home safe, and how to ensure the safety of your family, and so on. And that's a very interruptive ended up with. Take a look at this case study.
Every year, thousands upon thousands of Indians are victims of burglary. People end up losing their money, their valuables, and in some cases, their lives. Each year, there are over 150,000 reported cases of robbery and burglary, never mind the unreported ones. A chief reason behind these alarming robbery figures, homeowners lacking awareness about the need for better home safety. At Godrej Locking Solutions, as India's #1 lock manufacturer, we decided to change this. We came up with #HowSafeAreYou, a holistic campaign that triggers conversations about better home safety. We used a simple idea. Let's hear from robbers about how they rob homes and give tips on how people can safeguard their homes. We made 3 films, each an interview with a real ex-robber. Each film comes packed with revelations about how a robber thinks, how he acts, and what makes homes vulnerable.
ये साइकिल का स्टैंड रहता है ना, ताले को नीचे से ऐसे पकड़ते, वो ताले के बीच में स्टैंड डाल के कड़ी को लगा के हल्लू से दबाते, वो खुल जाता, आवाज भी नहीं आती। अगर ताला भी नहीं टूटा तो ट्यूबलाइट का भुआ करके हम काड़ी बिटा को गुल निकलते, दोनों मिक्स करके ताला में डालते, तो काड़ी लगाते, टूट जाता है।
The robbers also gave valuable advice on how to keep homes safe.
दो ताला रहेगा ना, एक ताला तोड़ने के बाद सामने आसपास आवाज तो जाएगा।
On release, the film stole the public's imagination, sparking multiple conversations about home safety and making the headlines. After the successful films, we expanded the conversation. A conference with a criminologist broadcast live on Facebook, getting valuable insights into home safety. #HowSafeAreYou made Indians aware of the need to upgrade to superior safety solutions and made Godrej locks synonymous with safety.
So this is the case study, and this is the one of the actual interview. Enjoy it.
हाँ भी तो लोग तो बहुत चोरी किया है इसे, अंदाज नहीं, लेकिन 40-50 के ऊपर के रहेंगे। फिर हम तीनों जन गए, डबल माला था, नीचे रहने वाले थे लोग रहते थे, हम ऊपर चढ़ गए इससे पाइप से, ताला तोड़ का अंदर में घुस गया, सब पैसा सोना ये था वो मैंने लिया, चांदी का डॉलर विलर में नहीं का लक्ष्मी का ऐसा था वो भी लिया मैंने। बाहर निकलते टाइम वो अंदर आ रही थी, फिर मैंने उसको धक्का दिया तो इधर है ना, इधर वो पायरी के किनारे ना वो लग गई। फिर मैं रुक के भी देखा, मैं बोला खून निकलने लगा, फिर बोला मैं रुकेगा तो मैं पकड़ा जाएगा, फिर मैं उधर से चला गया। चाबी तो किधर भी छुपा के रखते कोई ना कोई, ज्यादा करके तके के नीचे ड्रॉ में, कपट के ड्रॉ में रहते कभी कभी, न तो किले में लटक के गाड़ी का चाबी, घर का चाबी, कपट का चाबी रहता चाहिए। अगर ताला भी नहीं टूटा तो ट्यूबलाइट का भुआ करके हम काड़ी बिटा को गुल निकलते, दोनों मिक्स करके ताला में डालते, तो काड़ी लगाते, टूट जाता है। फिर डबल डोर लगाने पड़ेगा और ताला मजबूत चाहिए। फिर 2 ताला रहेगा ना, एक ताला तोड़ने के बाद सामने आसपास आवाज तो जाएगा। चोर कैसे भी चोरी करते हैं, कितना भी सुरक्षित रहो, इतना बड़ा ताला लगाओ या हाथी का चेन लगाओ, चोरी करने वाले चोरी कैसे भी करते हैं। पहली बार दिखले ऐसा लोग। अलार्म के जैसे ऐसा दिख रहा है, नंबर है ये, वो सीक्रेट कोड भी रहेगा, नहीं फिलहाल टाइम चोरी नहीं करेंगे, ऐसा लॉक देख के नहीं तोड़ सकते।
Yes, so this was absolutely, out of the box kind of idea, and it's still continuing now. This year we produced a documentary with the help of Vice, which is one of the famous global media, and they've done a remarkable job. We've won many awards for this campaign, and it's one of my favorite. The next one quick idea to be able to sort of, once again express on how to think differently. We also handle one of the furniture brands from Godrej. They were producing designer furniture and furniture that will sort of design such that either it'll it'll do some kind of benefit to you. You know, for instance, they would be making a sort of bed which also has some kind of swivel where you can keep your laptop and you can work from your bed. Now, bed is meant to sleep, but they have a sort of bed where you can actually work. You can laze around. You can sit and watch movies. So a multi-purpose furniture, which actually creates, in a sense, a freedom of life. You know, it just makes your moves within your home fluid. It just makes your it increases your comforts as well as functionality through the power of design. So this was quite a revolutionary furniture, and there were some fantastic ideas. We actually created this freedom of living strategy, and now that strategy has also started to help filter the kind of products that clients is actually bringing into the portfolio. So it's very important that you understand the category. You also understand exactly what is there in the product. If you keep staring at it and if you spot some beauty within that, and we felt that if we typically, furniture is almost like commoditized. There's very rarely any good ad of furniture you will ever see in the environment or in the ecosystem. Can you recollect single example of a great furniture ad in India? You won't find any. I mean, I would be very surprised if there's any. It's usually sale ads or functional ads or some kind of promotions. The only great brand, furniture brand, that you really see advertising brilliantly, that's globally, is IKEA, and that's not yet fully sort of made its presence in India, and you're also yet to see any brilliant advertising on the brand. But furniture as a category in advertising is slightly untapped, and we grab that opportunity. This is just a film that will give you anecdotal example of how we have made freedom of living as a very powerful statement that will be synonymous with this brand and with the products, and that will help connect people with this brand, because it actually gives you that liberating feeling, because you can be fluid within your homes. You can multitask from that furniture. The furniture looks very good. It enhances its aesthetics. And I think if a furniture brand can start to spell out some kind of philosophy about its existence or about its presence, then there's nothing greater than that. So we actually felt pretty thrilled with it. So take a look at this, and it'll give you some kind of idea of what we are thinking on this brand.
This is the age of new living, with new rules, new expressions, new joys. This new world has inspired our designers to create furniture that inspires you, a living experience enabled by design. We call this Script. Script isn't furniture, it's an act of freedom. Free from old rules, embracing the new. Script is design, beauty made for comfort. Always fresh, always intelligent. It knows what you want before you do. Script is freedom of living.
So breaking the mold of a category such as locking solutions and breaking the mold of furniture advertising, we found two powerful ideas. And that's just an anecdotal example. This is something that you have to do every time you have an opportunity to work on any brand, and it's a habit that you make. It's a habit of, say, thinking slightly differently in a way that helps build those great brands with some great creativity, which is persuasive but at the same time charming and beautiful to look at. I think I did touch upon a lot about being inspired by everything. I also I'm just hoping that I can't really see people when I'm making this presentation, but I do hope that the films are playing all right. I also print medium as a medium is now kind of thing of the past. It's really not in vogue anymore. Of course, it's a beautiful medium. It's a charming medium, but I tried to put some ads here from the old times just to be able to illustrate some points. just coming back to, like I said earlier, where you can be inspired by culture, by everything that surrounds you. If you make a habit of seeing everything rather carefully, listening to all kinds of music, seeing all kinds of culture, trying to understand dynamics of each culture, each race, um, you know, different types of human beings, why kids are the way they are, why women are the way they are, why people behave in the way they behave, why certain nations behave in the certain way, what makes politicians, who are the corrupt people, who's the watchman next door, what does he behave like. So when you watch people, when you watch things, when you watch architecture, when you listen to the music, um, and when you dig deep into every subject, be it science, be it the literature, it just is enough phenomenal source of ideas, and you could get inspired by anything and everything that surrounds you, and that becomes a sort of source of advertising. About 3-4 years back, we had a challenge to create an ad for Z Classic Cinema. The channel that helps you see movies, and they wanted young people to connect with the channel, and we created this ad, and just looking into the charm of the old cinema itself gave us this powerful idea. And this is one of my favorite idea. मला ही idea produce म्हणजे execute करताना खूप मजा आली. Take a look at it. It's a fun ad. Oops, sorry.
ओके सर, मैं अकाउंट्स डिपार्टमेंट में मेल भेज रहा हूँ अभी। हेलो, हाँ, चाय या कॉफी? चाय, चाय दे। कितना काम है यार? Hey! सागर, बॉस ने बुलाया है। आप भी बुलाया है।
Bad day.
थानेदार साहब अभी भी वक्त है, सोच लीजिए।
खो जाओ क्लासिक फिल्मों की हसीन दुनिया में। सी क्लासिक।
So yeah, so we त्याला आम्ही separately shoot केलं, blend केलं film मध्ये, and it just makes for an exciting recipe, seeing that beautiful scene from Sholay, but integrating this person who's had a tough day at the office makes for a very interesting recipe of normal life or boredom being killed by exciting old classic movies. And that was a lovely, simple idea, which again we got thanks to the observation of seeing the old movies and the culture of old movies. There is also a sort of culture about sort of these four-wheelers, or long drives, going into middle of nowhere, adventure, going to places that are hard to reach, and that culture is pretty much there when it comes to SUV advertising. So to a certain extent, it's SUVs have taken help of what makes this world unattainable, unreachable, obscure, adventurous, difficult, but at the same time exotic and interesting. So we also had our own take on it. This is a very old print ad. This is made of a Mitsubishi Pajero, and I'm sure you can't read the headline on the screen, so I will read. The art directors love to put headlines in tiny, tiny font. This is the ad that I worked with one of the greatest art director, designer ever, Mangesh Rane, and one of the best copywriter that I've had experience with is Malodi Dasgupta. So she and he kind of prepared this beautiful recipe of this image in line, and we produced this ad. The line says, if you were there, you would see it. So essentially, and then Mitsubishi Pajero. So basically, it takes you to a place where these phenomenal things happen. Beautiful photojournalistic images of wildlife, which actually kind of creates a beautiful image for the brand where, yes, you can get to that point with Mitsubishi Pajero. It's one of the, like I said, old work. I don't know how much fresh you will feel it in the context of today, but I thought it was a lovely piece of print work because print was prevalent in those days. You could be inspired by, say, wildlife. This is a fun, small campaign that we had done for a restaurant called Goa Portuguesa. Was coming out with a vegetarian food festival where no meat will be served, and we did this cute ads for him. And it's just sort of simple design, simple, powerful message. It's not a very big campaign, but it just simply makes a message in a sort of humorous way about vegetarian food festivals. The line says irresistible vegetarian food festival, then the date, and then these images of, these carnivorous animals actually going for vegetables because it's such a irresistible food. This won many awards at that time. This is again some 20-year-old ad. But like I said, I pulled out some old print work, and it was a fun campaign to do. Again, like I said, this is a campaign that was actually done for a serious mutual fund called Standard Chartered Mutual Fund. The message was retire early because you will make enough money so that you can retire early. But simply just spotting, making kids look like an adult and then actually practicing golf that early. So just to stretch a point about how soon you can retire, to be able to add drama to the idea of earning money. We did this campaign, and it was a sort of sweet for that time. This again, 20 plus years. And at that time, it was quite charming. I still find, there's no problem. I'm finding it even now as I'm staring at it after so many years. A sweet small girl sitting and knitting. The message says retire early, Standard Chartered Mutual Fund. So these are some print ads that I deliberately put in because I'm not sure how much the sort of movie or the commercials are showing up in this World Wide Web with the quality of internet that we get nowadays. So hopefully these print ads will help make a point. One of the things that was famous in our business for the longest period of time, and एक काळ असा होता की सुंदर कॉपी लिहिणे आणि कॉपी सेंट्रिक ॲडव्हर्टायझिंग फार एक त्याचा एक काळ आला होता. It was a renaissance of copy centric advertising that happened between the mid 80s to mid 90s, and there was a lot of weightage on copies, powerful headline, sculpting every word, making it look beautiful with the power of words. And this was something that was one of my favorite form. मला आमचे कॉपीरायटर चिडवायचे, तुम्हाला आर्ट डिरेक्टर्सला काय काम करायचं नसतं, तुम्ही आम्हाला सांगता की हे राईट अ ब्रिलियंट ॲड or brilliant copy and then I'll set it up. And basically you just set it up, set a certain types. So there was this little humor about copywriters feeling that art directors don't do hard enough job, and they essentially writers have to actually sit down and write. While it was true to a certain extent, but writing great ideas, finding great ideas to write copy which actually enables an idea and look beautiful, look like a piece of design was a major celebration of craft, where advertising had writing as a core, as a powerful message driver. But over the years, आता तर हल्ली कोणाला साध्या 3 ओळी सुद्धा नीट लिहिता येत नाहीयेत. People are struggling to write. There is also this thing about nobody reads copy. I don't know if there are a bunch of beautiful words. Maybe nobody reads long copy, or maybe nobody reads copy that sort of goes on and on. But people will read a bunch of few words which are just beautifully written, which spark off images in your mind, because a set of powerful words in my mind are as rich as, a beautiful image. Otherwise we'll be weird kind of society which is only kind of staring at visuals and trying to make sense out of it, and that's kind of weird. I mean, I am an art director, I'm a designer, I'm a photographer, I'm a painter, I'm a visual driven person. पण मला वाटतं की it is not enough in a world of creativity where only visual centric communication or visual based ideas are the only ideas. To me, great writing is not only a great design, but great writing is a sign of literacy, is a sign of an evolved mind, is a sign of a sort of solid, deep thinking. And I think we all have to be sort of rich in our repertoire of creativity. We need to be able to make ourselves a little bit more potent. आणि चांगली कॉपी लिहिल्याशिवाय किंवा चांगली चांगली डेप्थ कॉपीमध्ये असल्याशिवाय I don't think we are going to be complete creative people, even as we speak now, where the importance of copy has substantially reduced in terms of the amount of copy you can put into any communication. But yes, at the same time, no communication is ever complete without a bunch of words tagging along with pictures, even in the form of, say, some Insta post or some content that you may be making, or a nice blog or a nice charming copy written about the product on a website. So copy is important. Copy is indispensable to great advertising, and I am one of the propagators, one of the sort of advocates and ambassadors of copy. I've worked with many great writers. I've been fortunate enough to have their company, and here are a couple of examples of some great copy. Now, this is an ad that had won gold at Cannes Festival, written by Anshuman, who used to work with me. A phenomenal ad. This was about the thing, and I'm sure you can't read the copy on screen over there, but it's one of the best ads I have ever seen, where copy dominates the show. Copy entices you into the ad and make sure that you read it completely, totally, and get shocked by the content of it. So as the headline goes, how to carry on the family name, it is essentially about, in India, every year 1.1 million unborn baby girls die because they're killed before they're born. Once you know that that you have a girl who's about to be born, there are a lot of people find a ways to ensure that they get rid of the fetus, they get rid of the baby that is inside with a method. And this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ways, that what is written here is essentially a method by which you essentially kill the baby in the womb itself. And then the 7 things we say: after 3 months, try again for a boy. So people kill their babies while they're inside, and then they once again try to go for a boy, because the obsession of having a boy in our Indian society is crazy. And this ad was addressing that issue and bringing it to light as to this is a nuisance, this is a problem. And this ad actually is one of the best that our company, my creative team did, and it justifiably won one of the biggest award. This is another simple, sweet. There are times when you do this work for charities and for causes and so on. So there was a time then, especially in the 90s, there were a lot of ads were created around anti-smoking, and this company, Cancer Patients Association, was encouraging a lot of companies to create ads, and on one such occasion, we also helped them. This ad is a very simple ad. It shows a mild filter, the white filter at the end of the cigarette. And there's a line which I'm sure you can't read currently in the web. The line says, there is no such thing as extra mild cancer. So you may be buying an extra mild cigarette, but there's no guarantee that it won't give you cancer. So this also has won a silver at Cannes, and then many other awards. So I think it's usually a little irritating to keep mentioning these awards, but I think the whole thing is about a thought, which is so powerful. And it is so powerful because the simple word, there's no such thing as extra mild cancer. It just brings that image, that shock value into your head, and makes you think. This is beautifully written by, like I said earlier, mentioned writer Parviz, along with Sanjay, and this is one of the finest piece of work that we created. Again, going into copy, this is one of the newspaper and web. So basically, firstpost.com, when it was being launched. I was fortunate enough to work on this whole launch campaign, and this was the first time when the newspaper was getting digital, and we were encouraging people to participate in the news, not just read it. It's not just a monologue. It's not just the newspaper telling you and you're absorbing it, but there is in the comment section. You're commenting in it. You're interacting with it. You're sharing it. So the whole culture of interacting with the piece of content started about 10 years ago, and we were a little bit lucky to get the head start into the digital world, and we did this campaign. But this campaign is great, not because our thinking was strategically fantastic about it, but it is also to do with these wonderful thought-provoking copy lines. And I just sort of see this back of comp or an iPad, which kind of adds a sort of beauty to the design. I think sometimes when you have great copy and design is not trying too hard, using typography, using powerful words to make it look beautiful just does the job. And look at the copy written by Malavi. She's, like I said, is one of the finest in the business. The web is mightier than the sword. Wonderful thought. Violent disagreements without the violence, which is essentially you're commenting and interacting. And there's no physical violence as such. But yes, you can disagree with the piece of news that is being put out by firstpost.com. Your thoughts spark thoughts that spark thoughts. Now, the lines like this actually spark thoughts in your mind because it's just so thought-provoking, such a thought-provoking copy. And that's the beauty of copy-centric ad. So this is just a little small celebration of copy-driven ads and wonderful writers who have made it happen. I think it's just a sort of unfortunate thing that this is almost dead art in our business, and whoever can keep it alive, I'm sure will be rewarded with some great ideas. Because I don't think the relevance of great copy is dead. I think it's just that ability to write great copy or being driven to be able to sort of do that is slowly sort of disappearing. But it's one of the greatest form of advertising, and I don't think it's going anywhere away. It just only it's being said that this copy is dead is because a lot of people don't quite know how to write it anymore. I tried to sprinkle some print work, and so there has been a sort of three clear eras. There was a print era, then there was TV and radio era, and then there is a digital era. The point I'm trying to make is just as your business evolves, the medium changes, or the importance of a specific medium changes. Like we enjoyed doing print work till the mid-90s. After that, TV started to dominate right from the beginning of 90s when liberalization started, and a lot of new channels came in, and brands started to express themselves in the world of television, and we created a lot of television work at that time. And then now, since 2010, particularly 2006 to 8 onwards, a lot of work now is getting done in digital space, and that's what is going to dominate the future. And the future is now actually going in a way where it's not only about creating content, it's not only about digital at large as a place of consumption for people. It is now becoming a sort of more specific. You almost know your customer, and therefore you almost know what ad to provide your customer, because all these apps are watching your behavior, they're collecting your data, they are sort of significantly they have a significant control over what's going on. They can measure, they can spot your actions in the social space, and they are collecting a lot of data as a result of your interaction with various apps, and every possible way they can connect data. And the way they go on creating data is also thanks to the power of ideas. I mean, when you have idea, great idea, people interact with that idea, and then all these apps know who's exactly interacting with the idea, and therefore they have the data available. And what is also happening is the significant data that is available. We are actually fortunate enough to work with a Boston-based company, Findability Sciences, a phenomenal company. They've been streets ahead in this game. They have been at it since 2009 to recognize the power of data, to recognize the power of artificial intelligence, and how to stare at data and analyze data to be able to understand the personalities of people, behavior of the people, and to be able to then subsequently how then brands can connect with that audience basis mapping the consumer. So now data has become the buzzword. Data has become a sort of way of or a inseparable part of advertising function. Those who understand the space very well will be able to sort of then be in the game and to be able to do well in the game. It's not just going to be good enough to be able to think of pretty pictures and ideas. You really have to understand how technology is working and the role of data in the way brands will use data of the people made available through different interventions. And how, when you have that data available, how can you stare, how can you analyze, and then be able to then produce ideas basis your exact knowledge of your audience. And that is the new game that is starting, and that's one of the new pillar of advertising. Just one small anecdotal example, just fun example, where to what extent, people can find ideas to be able to generate data or analyze it and then put it to good use. Take a look at this example.
Air pollution kills nearly 7 million people a year globally, including 10,000 just in London. But because it's scientifically complicated and largely invisible, most people don't realise just how serious the issue is. So Plume Labs, an environmental technology company, set out on a mission to save city dwellers from air pollution by making it impossible to ignore. Introducing the Pigeon Air Patrol, the world's first flock of pigeons who fly around London monitoring air quality in real time on Twitter. 10 pigeons were fitted with custom-made backpacks that measure nitrogen dioxide, ozone and volatile compounds. Each day in rush hour, when air pollution is at its most deadly, the pigeons were released from various locations around London. Going where no bike, car or drone can go, they flew across the city, quickly gathering pollution data. Anyone tweeting their location at Pigeon Air got an instant update on air pollution in their area from the pigeons. With a touch of wit, the Air Patrol brought to life the health risks associated with poor air quality and encouraged people to protect themselves with practical advice from the Plume Air mobile app. Not bad for a pigeon. In 3 days, the Pigeon Air Patrol was featured in more than 2,000 global news stories.
Pigeon.
Pigeon.
Pigeon Air Patrol.
Could you give us another way of thinking of pigeons? Nearly 40,000 conversations online use the hashtag PigeonAir, delivering more than 667 million impressions through PR and social. 93% of those engaged told us they felt differently about pollution now. And we even managed to crowdfund new Plume Labs sensors, which 100 Londoners will beta test in their everyday lives. Data, feathers and tech innovation. The Pigeon Air Patrol.
Right, so that's about data. I'm just gonna, sort of quickly wrap this up because I just realized that, there's just so much to speak. Like I said, it's just advertising has such a big canvas and just so many things happen in it that one session is never easy to sort of pack in. So I'm going to sort of start to quickly wrap up at the end. There was one of the questions that was asked: will AI replace designers? Yes, artificial intelligence is turning out to be pretty dangerous in substituting human beings with a lot of skills. And yes, there is a lot of design work that is possible. In fact, the company that we tied up with also, to a certain extent, managed some headway in this space. But what they will not be able to replace is artificial intelligence will not be able to replace is your sort of ability to spot insights and creativity and and be able to sort of find those powerful ideas which are lateral, which are unexpected. Maybe the calculations artificial intelligence will make perhaps will produce a little bit more expected, a little bit more sanitized work, as I see it at this point in time. But yes, it's a little bit of threat to designers in the days to come. If you're not up in the game, if you're not you're not operating at a level which is much higher up. But if you're doing simple, straightforward, regular, content-centric designs, very basic templatized work, I think that will AI will easily replace that kind of work and be able to give it without any problem. I'm just going to skip a lot of things. In fact, there is a sort of way by which you, like I talked about, many things that should keep you inspired, keep you watching about creative ideas. I also sort of find a little bit of time away from the usual advertising work. Try to do some photography here and there, paint a little bit. That is more to stimulate myself. That's not a show-off thing for me. That's not anything. There's nothing professional about it. It's just a hobby, and that just sort of the idea is to keep oneself creative. And these are some of the images that I have shot, which are essentially abstract, but yeah, they just kind of give me immense joy in capturing sort of unexpected objects. I would have spoken a little bit about these images, but I know there's a paucity of time and I'm running really late. I'm also going to be skipping this section and straight away going to come towards end, which is a bit about being in our business is really not so much not only about being creative, being emotional, being sensitive, but it is also about having a lot of energy, a lot of stamina, and a lot of ability to hang in there. So these are some of the examples that I have spotted in one is from business side, one is from creative side. I'm sure you know Clint Eastwood. Even at the age of 80 plus, he's churning out brilliant movies, brilliant award-winning movies, and that's to do with really stamina. That's to do with the energy the gentleman has, and all of us creative people are not good enough when you're just thinking about creativity. Great creativity and great execution does need a lot of stamina, and you really have to be prepared to put in a lot of efforts. I think your energy, if your energy levels are higher, you will also be able to succeed further in the business. And that's something that you will see when you look around very famous and successful creative people. Is there any formula for success? Yes, there is, fortunately, but it's not easy to sort of execute. This is what really the chat was about. The thing is, when from the time when you have the brief in front of you to the search that begins to spot an insight and then give it some kind of shape in the form of idea, and then render that idea, make it beautiful, make it aesthetic, chisel it to the nth detail. And when you do that, it's really the time the game begins. Until such time that expression turns out such that consumer enjoys it, the job is not really done. So don't ever give up. It's really the stamina, energy, and the hanging in there kind of bit, which is really important to be able to do successful work, successful creativity, and a great career. Just a little bit of small tips. Make sure, you're the students who are now going into professional life. treat your each and every piece of communication as a challenge. Play with the strategy till it becomes a springboard for numerous fresh ideas. Get restless to deliver your best every time you roll up your sleeves to start work. Have a never give up attitude. Do not settle for the second best. Have a killer instinct. And all of us should feel like athletes in the Olympics before they win their gold. I'm fortunate enough to attend Olympic, and I've seen a lot of films of athletes. I'm particularly deeply interested in sports, and sports is a culture itself. That again, observing sports carefully is also an ocean of ideas. And there is one commercial which kind of summarizes that how we should be preparing ourselves to be able to produce greatest creativity, and that film captures it beautifully. I think the way athletes at Olympics on a biggest world stage, the way they perform, the way they prepare, and the way they execute their abilities is something to learn from. Take a look at this ad, and I think that's the only way you can, from a student to professional and then successful professional, you can make that journey only by being a sort of someone who just do not settle for the second best and has a killer instinct and is willing to work very hard with the greatest stamina. Take a look at this ad, and it's another phenomenal. So that's it. That's it. My sincere apologies to have run a bit longer. And it appears like everyone is gone. Is everyone there still? Hello? Hello? I'm so sorry,
Thank you very
Jem.
much. Thank you.
It just became a bit long. I didn't realize. Because when you're seeing the screen without...
Good job, Ravi. Good job. Excellent. खूप छान वाटलं रवी. आम्हाला तू छान फिरून आणलास आणि खूप छान टूर केली आम्ही. व्हेरी एक्सलंट.
Thank you for your kind remarks, but I'm looking at others and they're all looking like they are deeply unimpressed.
No, sir, it was a really inspiring talk. I really appreciate it. It was really a knowledge sharing experience for the students as well. I think the students will take all of your tips, like the aspects of marketing, the literacy knowledge you know, the rational thinking you said about, also about to be well acquainted with your own answers of creativity and a passion to be creative. That's very important. And it's the energy to never give up was very motivational, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to chat with you. And I'm really sincerely once again sorry that it just got stretched because there's just so much to pack in. There's just so much to share. Like I said, biryani, thoda zyada hi ho gayi biryani. And yeah, and also sorry I couldn't keep switching into Nanki, because then it would have become another half an hour you'd have to add to that length of the presentation. So
Raghu तुला होतोय.
Yeah, I can see some. Thank you very much, Shivaji. Thank you very much, Raghu. I can see some comments coming in. I sincerely hope it was useful to you guys. Thank you, Abhay.
थँक्यू व्हेरी मच सर. खूप प्रश्न आलेले आहेत. प्रश्न एवढे आलेले आहेत, तेवढे प्रश्न सगळे घ्यायला गेले तर आणखीन 2 तास लागतील. ऑलरेडी आपले 2 तास झालेले आहे. काही सिलेक्टेड प्रश्न आपण घेऊ त्याच्यामधनं. मी मोहीन सरांना आणि रमेशला, संजय सरांना विनंती करतो की प्रश्न घ्यावे, की मी एक प्रश्न टाकतो याच्यावर. एक सेकंड ना. हा एक प्रश्न आहे. रमेश.
येस. टाकलाय का तो प्रश्न?
स्क्रीनवर दिसतोय ना तुला?
एकच मिनिट.
एकच टाकलेला आहे प्रश्न. सर तुम्हाला दिसतोय प्रश्न?
नाही, मला दिसत नाही. कुठे?
खाली दिलेलं आहे बघा. एक सेकंड.
फ्रॉम संजय चुबे.
There's a comment I can. Thank you, Abhay.
एक सेकंड. प्रश्न खूप वरती गेला. संजय चुबेचा प्रश्न एक. मोइन.
Sanjay is concluding the event. We must thank Nandini that she kept him attached to the School of Art for last 4 years. Otherwise, we might have missed a creative advertising person and his amazing work, he says. Thank you, Sanjay.
Sanjay, just one error. The thing is, she was not there at that time. She came in only when we were in the final year.
Sir, second questions.
It's from Kamlesh Verma. He says it is great learning for all our Shakama students as well as other relevant creative communication industry folks.
Thank you, Kamlesh. Really appreciate it. That's very kind of you. Thank you, Neeta. I can see more comments. Yeah, these are. Appreciate Neeta. Thank you very, very much.
There was also a query from Muzammil Barito. He's a copywriter actually.
Yeah, so actually, Muzammil, ideas come from anywhere. Obviously, the task typically handed over to find ideas to copywriters and art directors. But, you kind of, if you keep your eyes wide open, you will see that even some other people such as your strategic planners or business side people sometimes say things that actually gives you a phenomenal insight which leads to creating some great ideas. So ideas can come from anywhere, but yes, the primary responsibility belongs to copywriter and art director, which actually makes our life miserable because you have that task of finding ideas pretty much every alternate day. Weeks after weeks, months after months, years after years. So it sort of gets you completely exhausted. But there are other people who also help you. Sometimes ideas and some inputs come from filmmakers, web designers, content makers, techies. Idea can come from anywhere. But yes, the crafting part typically ends up being designers and
suggestion.
All participated speakers and online participants certificate and various subject department of fine arts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sudhir.
Just a minute, sir. No,
this is not relevant.
No. एक प्रश्न. रवीचं क्रिएटिव्ह काम करताना येणाऱ्या उदासीनतेला कशा प्रकारे हाताळले पाहिजे?
मी सगळ्या विद्यार्थ्यांना एक
उदासीन म्हणजे डिप्रेशन.
निगेटिव्हिटी.
ऍक्च्युली मी तो चॅप्टर टाकला होता पण घाई झाल्यामुळे मी बरेच चॅप्टर्स एलिमिनेट केले. त्यात हा पण चॅप्टर होता. राहुल, अतिशय छान क्वेश्चन आहे हा. उदासीनता, फ्रस्ट्रेशन, कुणाचा तरी आवाज येतोय.
एक सेकंड.
या सो राहुल, हा फार वारंवार येणारा प्रॉब्लेम आहे हा. उदासीनता म्हणा, डिप्रेशन म्हणा. हा प्रॉब्लेम कधी कधी एवढ्या लेवलला जातो की लोक फ्रस्ट्रेट होतात. आणि फ्रस्ट्रेशन कधी लोकांचं वाढलं तर ते थोडेसे अग्रेसिव्ह पण होतात. काही लोक डिस्ट्रक्टिव्ह पण होतात. म्हणजे यू हॅव अ लेवल ऑफ problem that can go to any level when people are depressed or people are dissatisfied or people are angry or jealous, or they can be a lot of volatility in the business. I think that फक्त एकच त्याच्यासाठी उपाय आहे की I think peace and positivity are very powerful virtues. The power of peace or force of good, किंवा how positivity can beat negativity is very important. So therefore, you have to sort of let go all these assaults. You have to let go these sort of reasons why you can be thrown into deep end of depression or deep end of problems. You just have to be positive, optimistic, and stay committed to the cause. Stay passionate about your business and stay hungry and energetic all the time, and let the positivity trump the negativity. No pun intended, but positivity should beat the negativity. That's the only suggestion I can give in order to handle that. त्यामुळे उदासीनता शक्यतोवर तुमच्या जवळ येऊच द्यायची नाही. शक्यतोवर पॉझिटिव्ह राहायचं आणि या क्रिएटिव्हिटीचा जेवढा आनंद घेता येईल तेवढा घेऊन पुढे सरकत राहायचं. तेवढा एकच आपल्याकडे उपाय असतो. हाऊ डू वन प्राइसिंग इज आयडिया, प्लीज एलॅबोरेट. म्हणजे चार्जेसचं का ऍडव्हर्टायझिंग? चार्ज फॉर ऍडव्हर्टायझिंग, आय प्रिझ्युम. Generally, it's the hardest thing, Dharmesh. How to price for, how to charge your ideas. There are typical sort of rate cards within advertising business, more or less similar across the industry. However, some people, because some agencies, some people are better than the others, they end up getting slightly bigger premium. But there is no sort of specific science or method to charging. आतापर्यंत आम्ही जे मेट्रिक्स वापरायचो ते होतं की it was based on time cost, overheads, and then the sort of margins. हे सगळं इन्क्लूड करून जी काही प्राइस येईल ती तुम्ही चार्ज करणार. So that was the matrix used. Basically, we charge clients on the basis of the time and the overheads we have. Sanjay Chube. Actually, it's माझी जास्ती फॅमिलियारिटी जे मधल्या मुलांबद्दल राहिली मुंबईत असल्यामुळे. जितके जे तो स्टुडंट्स म्हणा किंवा जेतून आलेले भयंकर टॅलेंटेड मुलं येतात तिथून, तर ते त्यांच्याबरोबर माझा जास्ती संपर्क राहिला. आणि आपल्या कॉलेजमधून आलेले काही फार, मला तर आत्तापर्यंत म्हणजे इट्स व्हेरी फनी यू आस्क मी दिस क्वेश्चन, बट आत्तापर्यंत तसा प्रसंग नाही आला की आपल्या कॉलेजमधला कुणी मुलगा माझ्याकडे आला. 1-2 वर्षापूर्वी एक महाजन म्हणून एक मुलगा आला होता, बट दॅट्स रिअली इट. गेल्या 35 वर्षात फार तशी ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी नाही आली. इनफॅक्ट आय वुड बी व्हेरी हॅपी इफ मोर स्टुडंट अप्रोच अस विथ देअर टॅलेंट.
So what are the things that you look for before hiring any designer? What are the things you look in?
The first thing to look for is the sort of, what is indispensable in our business is कुठलाही तुम्हाला सिनियर प्रोफेशनलनी तुम्हाला बोलवलं ह्याच्यासाठी काम दाखवण्यासाठी, तर ते पहिली गोष्ट ते बघतात की किती छान काम आहे तुमच्या बुकमध्ये, तुमच्या पोर्टफोलिओमध्ये. तर इट्स रिअली अबाउट बिल्डिंग अ बँक ऑफ आयडियाज अँड क्रिएटिव्हिटी to a level from where you are looking at some breathtaking work, uh, and that work has to be arresting to eyes, it has to be engaging, it has to dazzle you, it has to inspire you. तर तो पोर्टफोलिओ तुमचा खूप छान पाहिजे आणि त्यात चांगले विचार दिसले पाहिजे, चांगली क्रिएटिव्हिटी दिसली पाहिजे आणि चांगलं एक्झिक्युशन दिसलं पाहिजे. तर ती गोष्ट पहिली गोष्ट आहे ते बघतात जे काही सिनियर लोक तुम्हाला हायर करतायत ते. त्याच्यानंतर तुमचा ॲटिट्यूड, तुम्ही किती आर्टिक्युलेट आहात, तुम्ही किती कॉन्फिडंट आहात, तुम्ही किती प्रेझेंटेबल आहात, तुम्ही बट जास्तीत जास्त ऑफकोर्स तो फोकस सगळा क्रिएटिव्हिटीवर असतो आणि तुमची एबिलिटी टू टॉक, एबिलिटी टू आर्टिक्युलेट युअर थॉट्स, तुम्ही स्वतःला किती व्यवस्थित एक्सप्रेस करू शकता, कुठल्या चांगल्या प्रकारे तुमच्या आयडियाज सेल करू शकता आणि तिसरी महत्वाची गोष्ट म्हणजे तुम्ही तुमचा ॲटिट्यूड चांगला आहे की नाही, तुम्ही इगर आहात की नाही, तुम्ही पॅशनेट आहात की नाही, तुम्हाला या बिझनेसमध्ये येऊन काहीतरी करायचंय, काहीतरी उंची गाठायची आहे आणि छान काम करायचं असं जोपर्यंत तुम्हाला तसं ते आढळून नाही येत लोकांना, सिनियर लोकांना तुमचा पोर्टफोलिओ बघताना, तर तोपर्यंत तुम्हाला हायर करणं थोडं अवघड होतं. तर येस, पोर्टफोलिओ, ॲटिट्यूड, पॉझिटिव्हिटी, ऑप्टिमिझम अँड अबाव ऑल बिंग आर्टिक्युलेट अँड बिंग प्रेझेंटेबल. आणि तुम्हाला जाणवलं पाहिजे की ही जी व्यक्ती आहे तुमच्या समोर ती खरोखरच या प्रोफेशनमध्ये हॅज अ चान्स टू सक्सीड आणि खूप पोटेन्शियल असलेली व्यक्तीच हायर केली जाते. पण ते पोटेन्शियल इलस्ट्रेट करायचं असेल तर वी आर व्हेरी लकी ॲज आर्टिस्ट, ॲज स्टुडंट्स, की आपण पोर्टफोलिओ दाखवून आपलं डेमॉन्स्ट्रेट करू शकतो आपले स्किल्स, so that's very important. So that is really the way you get hired. But I think आता थोडंसं गेम अजूनही बदललाय की आता थोडे नवीन स्किल्स पण तुमच्या पोर्टफोलिओ दिसले पाहिजे. मोशन ग्राफिक्स म्हणा किंवा ability to sort of display some technological prowess and integrating technology with design, ability to understand a new media. कारण तुम्हाला भरपूर प्रश्न पण विचारण्यात येतात इंटरव्ह्यूमध्ये आणि तुम्हाला जोपर्यंत त्यांना म्हणजे एम्प्लॉयर्सना जोपर्यंत कळत नाही की आता या व्यक्तीला हायर केल्यानंतर मला खूप उपयोग होणार आहे आणि मजा येणार आहे याच्यावर काम करायला, किंवा दिस पर्सन इज गोइंग टू बी युजफुल अँड स्मार्ट अँड विल सॉल्व मेनी प्रॉब्लेम्स, तोपर्यंत तुम्ही हायर नाही होणार. त्यामुळे जितकी तयारी आधी करता येईल कॉलेज सुटायच्या आधीच पहिल्यापासून फ्रॉम सेकंड इयर, जस्ट डू दॅट अँड गेट युअर सेल्फ प्रोफेशनली रेडी, जो की मी पहिल्यांदा पॉईंट केला होता. अँड दॅट्स दी ओनली वे टू गेट हायर. देर आर नो शॉर्टकट्स. एक प्रश्न मला परमार सरांचा दिसला होता काही क्षण. कॅन यू ब्रिंग दॅट बॅक?
येस सर, वन सेकंड सर. एक त्याच्या पहिले गिरीशचा एक प्रश्न आहे तुमच्या याच्याबद्दल, मी तो पण शोधतो. तो एक प्रश्न आहे. एकच सेकंड
सर.
मी तुम्हाला सुरुवातीला बोललो की आपल्याकडे एक सगळ्यात छान गोष्ट अशी होती, टेक्नॉलॉजी इज ग्रेट, लाईक असायलाच पाहिजे आणि टेक्नॉलॉजीचे फायदे पण खूप आहेत, पण हातातून जे मॅजिक तयार होतं ते पण बरोबर असेल तर त्याची मजाच वेगळी. सो हे प्रशांत गोडबोले किती सुंदर स्केच करतात, इलस्ट्रेशन करतात, आयडियाज करतात, फोटोग्राफी पण करतात. तर ते सोलफुल काम आहे, ते खूप छान काम आहे. आता माझा मित्र रघु आणि इंडियाज प्रॉबेबली वन ऑफ द टॉप 3 कॅलिग्राफर्स यू विल एव्हर सी. की ते जे डेडिकेशन आहे, ती जी कला आहे, त्यातले जे स्किल्स आहेत, त्यातलं जे ती कमिटमेंट आहे, त्यात जे मेडिटेशन आहे, त्यातली जी ब्युटी आहे ती दॅट इज इरिप्लेसेबल. जे काम गोडबोले करतायत किंवा रघु करतोय, सुंदर काम आहे, अतिशय सुंदर काम आणि अतिशय त्याच्यात म्हणजे दे हॅव रिअली ट्रूली थ्रोन देमसेल्व्स इनटू दॅट क्राफ्ट. इट्स ब्युटिफुल टू से द लीस्ट. आणि त्यामुळे स्केचिंगचा प्रकार असा आहे की तुम्ही हाताने गंमत करता आणि कॅप्चर करता लँडस्केप स्केचिंग, तर ती जी ब्युटी आहे ती पण त्यातली मजाच वेगळी आहे. आणि त्याचा फायदा भरपूर होतो, कारण तुम्हाला तुमच्या डोळ्यासमोर काही नसताना एखादी इमेज डोळ्यासमोर आणणे आणि साधारणतः त्याचं रेखाटन तुमच्या डोक्यात उभं करणे, हे स्किल तुम्हाला ते स्केचिंग वगैरे मधून छान येतात. आणि तुम्हाला अंडरस्टँडिंग ऑफ ह्युमन बिंग्स छान कळतं, कारण तुम्ही लोकांकडे बघताय, वास्तूकडे बघताय, यू सीइंग आर्किटेक्चर, यू सीइंग पीपल, यू सीइंग व्हॉट दे वेअरिंग, व्हॉट क्लोथ दे वेअरिंग, व्हॉट आर द डिटेल्स, व्हॉट आर देअर, what is that they're holding in their hand, all kinds of things that are connected with human beings are being captured in the form of sketches. आणि ते जे ऑब्झर्वेशन आहे, ती जे स्किल डेव्हलपमेंट आहे, ते खूप छान आहे. त्यामुळे आय विल ऑलवेज रेकमेंड स्केचिंग इवन इन द इरा ऑफ टेक्नॉलॉजी. टेक्नॉलॉजी इज इरिप्लेसेबल, त्याला तुम्ही म्हणजे त्याच्याशी तुम्ही म्हणजे वादच घालू शकत नाही. पण निश्चितपणे हे पॅरलली करायचं. आता फर्स्ट यू हॅव टू डू टेक्नॉलॉजी अँड इन पॅरल यू हॅव टू डू ऑल दिस sketches and stuff. So to be able to embrace the future.
Parmar sir, do you remember
you are discussing a lot at my table in very friendly manner, which we both enjoy. Yes sir, I mean, I can't tell you the emotional value of this interaction, because मी सुरुवातीला सांगत होतो की एवढे छान सर होते आम्हाला, आणि तुम्ही सहजतेने जाऊन बोलू शकत होता सरांशी, आणि काही चर्चा करू शकायचा. दे वर बोल व्हेरी फ्रेंडली, व्हेरी वेल अहेड ऑफ टाइम in terms of not having hang-ups. I remember going to many teachers and hanging. They were not also teachers, but they were in different departments. Kurekar sir, बडे सर पेंटिंग, मोरे सर होते, ते सगळे दुसऱ्या डिपार्टमेंटमध्ये असूनही आम्ही जाऊन त्यांच्याशी गप्पा मारायचो. वी यूज्ड टू ट्राय अँड पिक अप लिटल बिट टिडबिट्स अबाउट क्रिएटिव्हिटी, अबाउट पेंटिंग, अबाउट लँडस्केप्स, अबाउट what is the way you can develop your skills, you can hone your skills. तर परमार सरांशी 4 वर्ष 5 वर्ष बोलण्यात जी मजा आली ती अतिशय irreplaceable with anything. It was very fun, very easygoing. He was one of the finest easygoing teachers I've ever seen. So it was wonderful to have you, sir. And I agree with your question. It's half a question and half a reminder of the times we've lived. Thank you very much indeed for your guidance.
एक लास्ट प्रश्न घेऊ आपण. ऑलरेडी 2 तास 27 मिनिटं झालेले आहेत. रमेश, लास्ट प्रश्न घेशील?
श्रीकांत पाटीलचा प्रश्न आहे, हाऊ टू गेट द क्लायंट टू मेक अ प्रॉपर ब्रीफ as we present the first quote, then they realize that what they actually want. I mean, there is a confusion from client's side, or maybe understanding the client's requirement.
Yeah, Shrikant, this is the fun of our business. There are times when you get a brief, you work on things, you try and do your best, and then you go ahead and present, and by the time you reach their building, they've changed their mind. So sometimes you have a brief as a moving target, so that's pretty annoying. So I think one of the best ways to work with clients is to be able to try and understand their product, try and understand their expectations from you, try and understand their goals in the marketplace. You have to spend a lot of time with your client, understanding their consumer, their category, their goal. And once you understand all of that, then you start creating interaction which is pretty much on the same side. Then there is no difference between client and you. You have to get client on your side, or you have to go on the client side, whichever way, without compromising creativity. If you have to guide a client with your powerful creativity after getting it onto the same page. So it's getting the it should not be as mechanical as they give you the brief and you created the ad, as against ensuring that the whole team is working for common goal and client is with you in that journey with the same amount of excitement as you are. So at that time, what also happens is a lot of creativity gets easier to sell because client is already with you and they've really understood what you're trying to do, and you kind of demonstrate how you're solving the problem with the power of creativity. So I think if the difference between client and you is reduced and it is bridged, then it all becomes a little bit easier. But yes, there are often situations where clients do change mind, and that really happens when you're not on the same page. And therefore, there are techniques to do. One is to, like I said, become one team, and also create a process by which you kind of define a common goal on a piece of paper before you start the creative journey. Yeah. Tukaram, yeah, there's a phenomenal scope for branding and design in the current situation, because there's a lot of India is a very big country with a big population, with a lot of stuff and a lot of products, a lot of things that are not properly branded yet, and to that extent, be it the product, be it the services, be the institutions. तुम्ही आता युनिव्हर्सिटीचे लोगोज बघा, अतिशय घाणेरडे लोगोज असतात. लेट्स से पॉलिटिकल गव्हर्नमेंटचे लोगो जे असतात ते पण अतिशय घाणेरडे असतात. when they employ a professional agency, then the work gets better. आता त्यामुळे इवन गव्हर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडियाने ते मेक इन इंडियासाठी लोगोज वगैरे करून घेतले, ते अतिशय प्रोफेशनली करून घेतले आणि छान त्याचा रिझल्ट मिळाला त्यांना. तर that as long as we are spotting those opportunities is great. But yes, currently India is a country where branding and design in a strategic way is a real need of the time, and there are a lot of opportunities.
Hello, any questions? Sanjay, Moin?
नहीं, everything is okay. Beautiful.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much, and all the very best. तुमचा जो हा जो concept है 50 year golden jubilee, all my best wishes to your further journey into this. There are a lot of talented people in the business, and who you can call and learn a lot from. And thank you for giving me the opportunity and took a little bit of journey into the past as a result of this webinar.
तुम्ही ते मानलं, पण आमच्याकडनं संजय खत्री आभार मानेल तुमचे. तुम्ही एवढा वेळ दिला सगळ्यासाठी. संजय खत्री, प्लीज.
येस. रवी सरांनी आपल्यासाठी जो अमूल्य वेळ काढला त्याबद्दल सगळ्यात पहिले मी त्यांचे आभार मानतो. आणि जे काही आपल्याला मिळालेलं जे काही ज्ञान आहे ते माझ्या मते सगळ्यांसाठी पूरक आहे असं मला तरी वाटतं. कारण का ज्यात त्यांनी,
मला ऐकू येत नाही संजय, तू काय बोलतोय?
म्हणजे माईक बंद झाला तुमचा, प्लीज माईक ऑन करा.
रवी सरांनी जे आपल्याला आता सध्या जे काही नॉलेज दिलंय ते मला वाटतं येणाऱ्या विद्यार्थ्यांसाठी आणि माजी विद्यार्थ्यांसाठी भरपूर पूरक आहे. त्याबद्दल सगळ्यात पहिले मी रवी सरांचे आभार मानतो.
थँक्यू संजय, थँक्यू फॉर युअर काइंड वर्ड्स.
येस, नाईस टू सी यू सर.
एक मिनिट.
थँक्यू
रवी, मला असं वाटतं की आम्ही सगळे असा विचार करू की आता जसं प्रशांतचं परत एक सेशन घ्यायचं प्लॅन आहे, बी सेशन, बी सेकंड सेशन, तसं तुझं पण सेकंड सेशन तर पोरांना जास्त त्याचा फायदा होईल.
नाही, पण माझ्या मते बरं का, कारण का हे जे काही नॉलेज मिळालंय ते थोडंस इनकम्प्लीट असल्यासारखं का जाणवतंय मला माहित नाही, पण विद्यार्थ्यांच्या अपेक्षा भरपूर आहेत.
5 ते 10 चॅप्टर काढून टाकावं लागले कारण वेळेची कमतरता.
येस, आय थिंक सो दॅट्स वाय. बरं का, तर त्यामुळे असं मला वाटतं की आपण एक सेकंड सेशन तुमचा परत एकदा ठेवावा. अँड यू शुड गिव्ह अस अ टाइम. आय थिंक सो.
That's very kind of you. Like I said at the beginning,
correct.
Make myself available whenever you do need any help. So you can take that for granted. That's the least I can do from the school. I had such a good time.
नाही, पण मी काय विचार करतोय की जर असं तुम्ही थोडासा वेळ जर आम्हाला दिलात तर आपण सेकंड सेशन एक व्यवस्थित
तर
घेऊ.
माझ्याकडे
संजय सर एकच मिनिट
हा, बोला बोला.
आपण एकदा सगळ्यांचं थँक्यू म्हणू. सगळ्या जे व्ह्युअर्स बघत होते, सगळे आपल्या कॉलेजचे किंवा बाहेरचे पण खूप
Yes,
लोक होते,
yes.
होते, त्यांचं सगळ्यांचं थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. आणि मी आता इकडं
Yes.
लाईव्ह बंद करतो. नंतर आपण परत सरांना आपण ते सेकंड सेमिनार घेणारच आहोत. सरांचं आता आपण
Yes.
ऐकणार. सर आपले 35 वर्षांनंतर भेटलेले आहेत, त्यांना आता आपण सोडणार नाही वर्षभर.
Kishore, if you can disconnect once you disconnect the live, if you can spend 5 minutes after that.
Yes. Please. Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you very much, Shakama.
To everyone who took time out to hear my ramble.
Thank you. एक सेकंड हा सगळं.